Chapter 252. Your Grandpa Moo is here. Bastards, kneel down and beg for your father's mercy, he shouted excitedly as he rushed over. Upon hearing Mu Feng's words, a cold glint flashed across the eyes of the celestial realm bastard. Is this human courting death? Not only did he barge into the Night Eater tribe alone, he even dared to ask them to kneel down and beg for their father's mercy. It was obvious that the Night Eater tribe did not know about the story of their father's mercy. The human who taught the other tribes about their father's mercy had also never been to the Night Eater tribe. This was normal. The Nocturnal Eclipse tribe's strength was obvious. The small ghost-chanting tribe might not be able to do anything to the human who entered the Five Elements Tao Palace, but the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe could easily crush him. Therefore, the human was smart enough not to come to the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe and beg for mercy from his father. Mu Feng was still unaware that he had completely barged into a tiger's den. At this moment, he was still fantasizing about how he obtained the first Tao seed. Judging by the size of the Night Eater tribe, there must be a lot of bastards. With so many bastards, there should be at least one Tao seed. Mu Feng did not know that if he could really destroy the entire Night Eater tribe, it was possible to obtain thousands of Tao seeds, let alone one. After all, there were thousands of bastards in the Night Eater tribe. He had already arrived at the entrance of the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe and stood opposite the dozens of psychic ghosts. Seeing that the psychic ghosts did not immediately kneel down and beg their father for mercy, but instead were glaring at him fiercely, Mu Feng instantly realized that something was wrong. This wasn't how the script was written. The three ghost whisperer tribes that he had passed by earlier had knelt down and greeted him as soon as they saw him. But now, why were the ghost whisperer of this tribe sizing him up as though he was their prey? The plot did not develop according to Mu Feng's expectations. Seeing that Mu Feng was at a loss, the leader of the bastard tribe laughed sinisterly. This human does have some problems, but it doesn't matter. As long as he has the heart, take him down. Even the bastard tribe thought that there was something wrong with Mu Feng's head. Following the leader's command, a group of Earth Mirror-level bastards immediately rushed towards Mu Feng. Seeing this, Mu Feng's heart sank, and he cursed inwardly. Why the King Ghost here doesn't play by the rules? Shouldn't he be kneeling down and begging Father for mercy? This was far beyond Mu Feng's expectations. However, given the current situation, Mu Feng clearly had no other choice. He summoned his earth weapon and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with the thought ghosts. Faced with the siege of dozens of spirit-reading ghosts at the Earth Mirror level, Mu Feng tragically discovered that not only did these spirit-reading ghosts not kneel down and beg for mercy, even their combat strength was far superior to the spirit-reading ghosts he had encountered before. Of course, the mind-reading ghosts that Mu Feng had encountered earlier were the ones that Xiao Chun had killed. Their strength was at the mysterious Yuan stage. Given Mu Feng's cultivation and fighting strength, it was naturally a one-sided slaughter against the mind-reading ghosts at the mysterious Yuan stage. But now it wasn't the Black Origin realm Niangue that was besieging Mu Feng. Instead, it was the Earth Mirror realm Niangue. The difference between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth. Mu Feng's expression changed drastically as he cursed. Damn it! Did the psychic ghost here take some aphrodisiac? So ferocious? They were completely different from the spirit-reading ghosts that he had encountered before. An ominous premonition arose in his heart. Although Mu Feng could be a little foolish at times, he wasn't an idiot. Therefore, he quickly realized that there was a huge problem with his understanding of the spirit-reading ghosts. It wasn't that the spirit-reading ghosts weren't dangerous at all. It was just that he hadn't encountered them before. The spirit-reading ghosts here were obviously extremely dangerous. Mu Feng wanted to retreat, but it was too late. He was already surrounded by the spirit-reading ghosts and was in a desperate situation. His strong desire to survive made him give it his all. As a peerless genius, Mu Feng's combat strength was not to be underestimated. Although he was not as strong as the 10 Great Prides, he was still much stronger than the spirit-reading ghosts of the Earth Mirror. If it was a one-on-one battle, Mu Feng could definitely kill them easily. Unfortunately, it was not a one-on-one battle. Mu Feng resisted with all his might and successfully killed an earth mirror-reading ghost. Moreover, there was a Tao seed in the spirit-reading ghost body. Seeing the Tao seed, Mu Feng couldn't help but exclaim, "Tao seed, this is a Tao seed." Mu Feng did not expect that he would actually obtain a Taoist thought seed when he was in such a desperate situation. However, before Mu Feng could rejoice, team leader Nian, who had not made a move until now, saw that his subordinate had been killed by Mu Feng. He immediately flew into a rage and shouted coldly, "A bunch of trash, get out of my way." Apparently, after witnessing Mu Feng kill his subordinate, the spirit-reading ghost was ready to take action himself. Upon hearing the spirit-reading ghost command, the spirit-reading ghost retreated. Then, the spirit-reading ghost bent his legs and stomped on the ground. In an instant, he turned into a black shadow and charged towards Mu Feng like a cannonball. The black shadow appeared in front of Mu Feng in an instant. He didn't use the sharp claws that the spirit-reading ghost was proud of. Perhaps the spirit-reading ghost thought that Mu Feng wasn't worthy enough for him to take seriously, so he only threw a punch. Even so, Mu Feng was still unable to withstand Captain Yin Gui's punch. The powerful force sent Mu Feng flying away. He didn't have time to react at all. From the moment the spirit-reading ghost attacked to the moment Mu Feng was sent flying, only a split second had passed. How is this possible? Mu Feng didn't expect the spirit-reading ghost to be so strong that he couldn't even withstand a single blow. Mu Feng didn't know that the spirit-reading ghost before him had reached the celestial realm. In the Five Elemental Palace, spirit-reading ghosts who had reached the celestial realm were also known as sky ghosts. There was a qualitative difference between them and ordinary spirit-reading ghosts. After sending Mu Feng flying with a punch, the sky ghost sneered. "How dare you come to the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe with your ant-like strength? Seems like there's something wrong with your head." Upon hearing the sky ghost's words, Mu Feng struggled to stand up. His eyes were filled with solemnity. He had indeed underestimated the danger of the spirit-reading ghosts. But then again, it wasn't entirely Mu Feng's fault. Ever since he entered the Five Elemental Palace, the spirit-reading ghosts that Mu Feng encountered were all left behind by Shao Chun. It was the same for 3 spirit-reading tribes in a row. It was understandable for Mu Feng to look down on the spirit-reading ghosts. The series of coincidences put Mu Feng in a desperate situation. At this moment, Mu Feng finally understood that not all spirit-reading ghosts in the Five Elemental Palace would kneel and beg for mercy. Chapter 253. Mu Feng was already in a desperate situation. Faced with the siege of a heavenly ghost and dozens of spirit-reading ghosts at the Earth Mirror level, it was obviously impossible for him to escape with his strength. Moreover, this was only the tip of the iceberg of the Night Eclipse tribe. There were at least dozens of such troops in the tribe. Mu Feng was in complete despair. It was impossible to even break out of the siege. His heart was filled with regret. At the same time, after injuring Mu Feng with a punch, the heavenly ghost approached step by step. Its eyes were full of mockery. In its view, Mu Feng was already a duck on the chopping board. It was impossible for him to escape. "Human, surrender. If you do, I can let you die a little faster," the heavenly ghost said with a cold laugh. Mu Feng did not reply. At the last moment, Mu Feng was still thinking about how to escape. However, the heavenly ghost obviously did not give Mu Feng too much time. Seeing that Mu Feng chose to remain silent, the heavenly ghost moved and rushed towards Mu Feng. Its sharp claws locked onto Mu Feng's chest. This claw was definitely enough to rip Mu Feng's stomach open. It was only a matter of a moment. Facing the heavenly ghost's attack, Mu Feng chose to resist with all his might and successfully blocked the claw. However, this was only the beginning. Next, the heavenly ghost's attack came like a storm. As a peerless genius, Mu Feng could indeed resist the heavenly ghost's attack. However, such resistance would definitely not last long. The heavenly ghost was still suppressing Mu Feng. Its strength was much stronger than an ordinary celestial realm warrior. It was also because Mu Feng's combat strength was not bad. Otherwise, if it were anyone else, they would have been killed by the heavenly ghost. You overestimate yourself, human. Die. Perhaps the heavenly ghost had lost its patience because of Mu Feng's resistance. The heavenly ghost shouted coldly and broke through Mu Feng's defense with a punch. It then turned its fist into a claw and ruthlessly went straight for Mu Feng's chest. It's over. Mu Feng's heart sank. In the face of this attack, he had no time to react. He could only watch as the heavenly ghost's claw tore through his chest. Even Mu Feng himself was in despair. At this critical moment, a sword aura violently attacked. Facing this sword aura, the heavenly ghost felt an extremely dangerous aura. Without hesitation, he chose to retreat. It had to be said that the sky ghost's choice was very correct. If he hadn't chosen to retreat, his entire arm would have been cut off by the sword at this moment. Seeing the sudden appearance of the sword aura, Mu Feng was overjoyed. Someone from the heavenly Chun continent had come. He turned his head abruptly and saw Xiao Chun rushing over with the scarlet edge, sword in hand. In just a few breaths, he had appeared in front of Mu Feng. Xiao Chun. Mu Feng did not expect the person to be Xiao Chun and cried out in surprise. But soon, the surprise turned into joy. If the person who came was Xiao Chun, their chances of escaping would be much higher. After all, if the person who came was also a peerless genius, it would not be of much use. Xiao Chun was one of the 10 King of Prides. His strength was comparable to his cousin Mu He. With Xiao Chun around, their chances of escaping would indeed increase. Mu Feng had never felt that Xiao Chun was so handsome. He was already in a desperate situation and thought that he was going to die. But Xiao Chun's appearance gave Mu Feng hope. However, while Mu Feng was secretly rejoicing, Xiao Chun said with some surprise, "You're the one who loves to be a grandfather?" Previously, when Xiao Chun heard that Duo Fu had found a human who did not love to be a father, but a grandfather, he was still wondering who it could be. He did not expect this person to be Mu Feng. He laughed involuntarily. Mu Feng had always been known to be arrogant and domineering. Who would have thought that under such an appearance, Mu Feng would actually have such a cute side? Mu Feng's face immediately turned red when he heard Xiao Chen's words. But obviously, now is not the time to talk about this. The most important thing was to leave this place. Xiao Chen locked his gaze on the heavenly ghost in front of him and asked Mu Feng without turning his head, "Can you still run?" "Yes." Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Mu Feng replied, "Good. Listen to my instructions later. Don't look back and rush out of this plane. There will be spirit-reading ghosts outside to receive you. These spirit-reading ghosts are my people. Just follow them." Xiao Chen said. Xiao Chun entered the plane alone. The spirit-reading ghosts of the Duo Fu tribe were all waiting outside the plane. They had no choice as they did not dare to set foot in the territory of the Nocturnal Eater tribe. The spirit-reading ghosts were Xiao Chen's subordinates. When he heard the question, Mu Feng did not react at first. But at this moment, the heavenly ghost that was previously forced back by Xiao Chen's sword shouted coldly, "Another human has come. Good, very good. Today is a great harvest." "Great harvest? Let's talk about it after you finish eating." Xiao Chen replied indifferently when he heard the heavenly ghost's words. Without waiting for the heavenly ghost to reply, Xiao Chen took the initiative to attack. With a move of his feet, he immediately attacked the heavenly ghost. Just as Xiao Chen attacked, a loud shout sounded from his mouth. "Run!" These words were clearly said for Mu Feng to hear. When he heard Xiao Chen shout, Mu Feng turned around and ran without hesitation. Seeing this, the heavenly ghost that was fighting fiercely with Xiao Chen also shouted angrily, "Stop him!" He ordered his spirit-reading ghosts to stop Mu Feng. But how could Xiao Chen let them have their way? He forced the heavenly ghost back with a slash of his sword and immediately charged into the group of spirit-reading ghosts and began a massacre. The spirit-reading ghosts that were at the Earth Mirror level were like ants in front of Xiao Chen. Only the heavenly ghost could contend with Xiao Chen. After blocking the heavenly ghost and the spirit-reading ghost from Mu Feng took advantage of this opportunity to run away without looking back. Soon, he disappeared from sight. Don't think that Mu Feng was disloyal. If Mu Feng didn't listen to Xiao Chen's command or chose to stay because he was worried about Xiao Chen, the two of them would once again be in a desperate situation. Faced with the current situation, the only way was to let Mu Feng escape first, while Xiao Chun looked for an opportunity to break out of the encirclement. Only then would they have a chance to escape. Xiao Chun was obviously more agile and had no scruples if he was alone. Seeing that Mu Feng had already run far away, Xiao Chun felt relieved. He then looked at the earth mirror reading ghosts around him and said with a smile, "Let's collect some interest before we leave." As he spoke, Xiao Chun pointed out several times with his fingers. The Chun Jun sword finger was displayed, and a golden sword aura whizzed past, killing 2 spirit-reading ghosts at earth mirror level right away. What surprised Xiao Chun was that one of the spirit-reading ghosts had a seed of will of the great path in their bodies. He laughed heartily and kept the Tao Force seed in his storage ring. At the same time, the heavenly ghost also rushed over. He could tell that Xiao Chen's strength was far superior to Mu Feng's. This human was very dangerous, and his subordinates were no match for him. Chapter 254. This heavenly ghost also joined the battle. At the same time, the other heavenly ghosts in the Night Eclipse tribe also noticed Xiao Chen's powerful combat strength. Mu Feng's appearance didn't alarm the other heavenly ghosts in the Night Eclipse tribe, because one heavenly ghost was enough to suppress Mu Feng. But now it was different. Xiao Chen's combat strength had obviously surpassed that of a heavenly ghost. One heavenly ghost alone couldn't possibly be a match for Xiao Chun. Therefore, the other heavenly ghosts also rushed here. They sensed that there were no less than 10 heavenly ghosts rushing here. At the same time, more heavenly ghosts appeared from the depths of the Night Eclipse tribe. They couldn't delay any longer and needed to escape as soon as possible. But before they left, there was one more thing to do, and that was to kill a heavenly ghost for fun. Xiao Chun locked his gaze on the heavenly ghost in front of him. The heavenly ghost's heart skipped a beat when Xiao Chun locked his gaze on it. An instinctive fear instantly shrouded its entire body. It could clearly feel from Xiao Chen's gaze that the human before it wanted to kill it. He was already surrounded, and the other heavenly ghosts of the Night Eclipse tribe were rushing here. Under such circumstances, this human still wanted to kill him? This was absolutely ridiculous, but the heavenly ghost's intuition told him that this wasn't ridiculous. Xiao Chun had the ability to kill him, and it was an instant kill. He retreated almost instinctively, but it was obviously too late to retreat now. With a sneer on his face, Xiao Chun pointed his finger and shouted softly, "Tai sword finger." Xiao Chun didn't hold back in this attack. A sword ray as thick as a mountain shot out from Xiao Chen's finger and instantly engulfed the heavenly ghost. In order to kill this heavenly ghost in one blow, this attack consumed more than half of Xiao Chen's spiritual power. With such a price to pay, its power naturally couldn't be underestimated. Blood-curdling screeches erupted from the thick blade radiance. Not only that sky ghost, but also a dozen earth mirror-reading ghosts were also caught in the blast. After exterminating a heavenly ghost and a total of 13 earth mirror-reading ghosts with a single finger, the sword radiance dissipated and 6 Tao insight seeds floated in front of Xiao Chun. With a wave of his hand, Xiao Chun kept the 6 Tao insight seeds into his pouch and turned to leave. Xiao Chun was about to escape. The mirror-reading ghost couldn't stop him at all. Not far away, the other heavenly ghosts, who had witnessed Xiao Chun kill a heavenly ghost with a single strike, were also shocked. It wasn't until Xiao Chun had broken out of the encirclement that the heavenly ghosts who had rushed over snapped out of their daze. Immediately, they bellowed, "Human, where do you think you're going?" More than a dozen heavenly ghosts rushed toward Xiao Chun, but unfortunately, Xiao Chun had already broken out of their encirclement. His figure transformed into a blade ray and fled into the distance. Not only did he save Mu Feng, but he also killed as many as 25 earth mirror-reading ghosts and one heavenly ghost by himself. Watching Xiao Chun leave, the dozen heavenly ghosts snarled with gloomy expressions. "Damn human. This human is so strong. He actually killed a heavenly ghost with a single strike. In my opinion, An attack like that consumes a lot of energy. I'm sure he can't perform it continuously. No matter what, the humans who entered the 5-elemental Tao Palace this time can't be underestimated. Although the number is much smaller than before, the quality has improved a lot. Now that Sir Chief is in the critical period of his breakthrough, we can't afford to make any mistakes. It's better for us to increase the strength of our guards. Yes, we'll do as you say. We'll wait for Sir Chief to come out of seclusion. The chief of the Night Eclipse tribe did not pursue Shao Chun. Now that he had reached the critical period of his breakthrough, he would enter the Ghost King realm. With a Ghost King, the Night Eclipse tribe would no longer need to hide in the periphery. They could truly set foot in the core area of the 5-elemental Tao Palace and compete for territory with the truly large tribes. Due to the Night Eclipse tribe's leader's breakthrough, the tribe did not hunt humans. Under normal circumstances, every time the Daoist Palace of 5 Elements opened and humans from the heavenly Qin continent entered the Daoist Palace of 5 Elements, large Ghost Remembrance tribes like the Night Eclipse tribe would take the initiative to hunt humans. This time, the Night Eclipse tribe had not done so. The reason was that their chief was in the critical period of his breakthrough, and they could not afford to make any mistakes. Compared to hunting humans, breaking through to the Ghost King realm was obviously more important to the Night Eclipse tribe. After rushing out of the Night Eclipse tribe's territory and leaving the plains, Shao Chun directly rushed into the forest. He could no longer feel the aura of the sky ghosts. Only then did Shao Chun let out a sigh of relief. With Shao Chun's strength, it would not be a problem for him to face one heavenly ghost alone. He could even fight 2 heavenly ghosts. However, if he were to be surrounded by more than a dozen heavenly ghosts, it would be dangerous. Furthermore, the Night Eaters had more than just a dozen heavenly ghosts. There were hundreds of them. As such, Shao Chun had never thought of facing the Night Eaters head-on. Of course, he would consider a sneak attack. He was safe for the time being. Mu Feng should have met up with Duo Fu and the others. Walking through the forest, Shao Chun rushed toward the valley where the Duo Fu tribe was located. While Shao Chun was rushing, he inadvertently passed by a small lake. The lake water was clear, but at this moment, there was a young girl bathing in the lake. It was a complete coincidence that he appeared there. When Shao Chun appeared beside the lake, the young girl in the lake caught sight of Shao Chun. Her face immediately flushed red, and she let out an earth-shaking scream. He felt helpless. Is this considered peeping? But in all honesty, he did not do it on purpose. Looking at the blushing young girl who was hiding in the water, Shao Chun rubbed his nose in embarrassment. Yilian, I really did not do it on purpose. Go ahead and bathe. I will wait for you over there. Shao Chun recognized the young girl. Her name was Yilian. They had first met in the city of the King of Medicine. She was a Baijian Peak genius and a disciple of 9 Firmaments Palace. It was a completely coincidental encounter. Hearing Shao Chun's words, Yilian did not respond. As for Shao Chun, he quickly retreated to a spot not far away and casually leaned against a large tree. They did not have to wait for long. After just over 100 breaths worth of time, Yilian had put on her clothes and was standing before Shao Chun. Looking at Yilian, who was still blushing, Shao Chun explained, I really did not see anything. Hearing Shao Chun's explanation, Yilian lowered her head and did not reply. After that, amid the awkwardness, Shao Chun led Yilian towards the Duo Fu tribe. However, along the way, Shao Chun casually asked, By the way, Yilian, why is there a butterfly birthmark on your waist? Shao Chun, you dare say you did not see anything? Hearing Shao Chun's words, Yilian bellowed. Chapter 255. He didn't expect to bump into Yilian on the way back. With this, Shao Chun had found 2 sky prides. On the way back to the Duo Fu tribe, as Shao Chun expected, Mu Feng had returned safely. Mu Feng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Shao Chun was fine. Duo Fu and the rest of the spirit reader ghosts knelt before Shao Chun respectfully. Father, seeing the spirit reader ghost kneeling before Shao Chun and calling him father, Yilian looked at Shao Chun strangely. Why would the spirit reader ghost call Shao Chun father? Seeing He Lian's confusion, Xiao Chun didn't have the energy to explain. He simply said, "These spirit reader ghosts are crazy. They call anyone father whenever they see them. Ignore them." Unable to explain, Xiao Chun brought Mu Feng and He Lian to his residence. The three of them sat down. Xiao Chun sat at the head of the table, while Mu Feng and He Lian sat below Xiao Chun. According to the two of them, there was no one around them after they were teleported into the Five Elements Palace. Of course, Mu Feng was an exception. Xiao Chen's mouth twitched when he found out that Mu Feng had gone to the Sang Ping tribe and the other two spirit reader tribes that he had annihilated. Xiao Chen finally understood why Mu Feng had recklessly rushed to the Night Eclipse tribe. Perhaps to Mu Feng, the spirit reader ghosts were ants. That was why he had dared to challenge the Night Eclipse tribe alone. Part of the reason was because of him. However, Xiao Chun didn't mention it. He pretended to look at Mu Feng. Xiao Chun said, "Mu Feng, the spirit reader ghosts aren't as simple as you think. You can't be reckless in the future. King Bewitching Sword is right. Mu Feng will remember that." Mu Feng nodded respectfully when he heard Xiao Chen's words. The two of them recounted their experiences over the past few days. Xiao Chun then instructed Mu Feng and He Lian to find the other sky prides as soon as possible. Duo Fu and the rest would do their best to help. Hearing Xiao Chen's order, the two nodded respectfully. Now that he had found the two sky prides, there were many things that Xiao Chun could instruct them to do. Of course, the two of them would be searching for other sky prides, so they wouldn't have the time to hunt Nian Gui. However, Xiao Chun promised that he would compensate them. There was no need for the two of them to hunt down Taoist ghosts. The most important thing now was to find more supreme talents. Moreover, Xiao Chun alone was enough to deal with some small tribes of Taoist ghosts as long as there were no heavenly ghosts. However, attacking these small tribes was ultimately just a small matter. Xiao Chun's ultimate goal was still the Nocturnal tribe. It was a large tribe made up of thousands of Night Eaters. If they could wipe out the Night Eaters, the harvest would probably be more than destroying 100 small tribes. According to Xiao Chen's guess, the Earth Mirror Taoist ghosts might contain Tao thought seeds in their bodies, and the heavenly ghosts would definitely have Tao thought seeds in their bodies. In other words, if they could wipe out the Night Eaters, the hundreds of heavenly ghosts would be equivalent to hundreds of Tao thought seeds. In addition to the large number of Earth Mirror Taoist ghosts, the number of Tao thought seeds would definitely be in the thousands. However, wiping out the Night Eaters wasn't an easy task. First, Xiao Chun had to increase his own strength. In addition, the strength of peerless sky prides and top sky prides like Mu Feng and He Lian also had to increase as soon as possible. At the very least, they had to reach the level where they could kill heavenly ghosts before attacking the Night Eaters. It was obviously impossible to make everyone break through to the level where they could fight heavenly ghosts in a short period of time. However, it was possible in the Five Elements Tao Palace. Of course, the prerequisite was that there were enough Tao thought seeds. As long as there were enough Tao thought seeds, everyone could make breakthroughs along the way. With the dense spiritual energy of the Five Elements Tao Palace, it was completely possible. With a rough plan in mind, Xiao Chun began to work hard in the following days. One by one, small Night Eaters tribes were wiped out by Xiao Chun. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. All the small Night Eaters tribes in the area had been wiped out. There were only 5 Night Eaters tribes left. Apart from the Night Eaters tribe, the other 4 were medium-sized tribes with heavenly ghosts overseeing them. Xiao Chun didn't make a move on them for the time being. At the same time, Xiao Chun had collected over 100 Tao thought seeds after this hunt. He had gathered a total of 8 sets of Tao thought seeds of the 5 elements. At the same time, under the guidance of Mu Feng and He Lian, Xiao Chun found another 13 sky prides in half a month. Among them, there were 5 peerless sky prides and 8 top sky prides. 2 of them were even Xiao Chen's retainers. With his retainers by his side, Xiao Chun could finally refine the Tao thought seeds without worry. He let the 2 of them stand guard for him. Xiao Chun sat cross-legged in the wooden house and swallowed the 5 Tao thought seeds. Xiao Chun began the second imparting of the heavenly way. It felt the same as the first imparting of the heavenly way. After the second imparting of the heavenly way, Xiao Chun had a feeling that if he wanted to break through to the profound earth mirror realm, he would be able to do so as long as he had enough spiritual energy in his body. The barrier to breaking through to the profound earth mirror realm had been broken. Xiao Chun was overjoyed. Subsequently, Xiao Chun carried out 3 imparting of the heavenly way. After consuming 4 sets of Tao thought seeds of the 5 elements, Xiao Chun stopped. At the same time, Xiao Chun's barrier had been broken through to the minor perfection of the earth mirror realm. Within a short period of time, Xiao Chun could break through 2 levels without any hindrance and directly enter the minor perfection of the earth mirror realm. There were still 4 sets of Tao thought seeds of the 5 elements left. Xiao Chun didn't continue refining them. He gave 1 set to his 2 retainers, Mu Feng and He Lian. After receiving the 5 Tao thought seeds of the 5 elements from Xiao Chun, the 4 of them were extremely excited. It had been a month since they entered the Tao Palace of the 5 elements. This was the first time the 4 of them had felt the Tao thought seeds and the magic of the imparting of the heavenly way. Xiao Chun personally guarded the 4 of them for 2 hours. When the 4 of them woke up from the imparting of the heavenly way, they couldn't help but reveal a look of excitement on their faces. After this imparting of the heavenly way, the barrier to the minor perfection of the earth mirror realm had been completely broken. They could easily break through to the minor perfection of the earth mirror realm in a short period of time. Seeing the excitement in the 4 of them, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Get ready to break through as soon as possible. In a few days, I want to make a move on some medium-sized ghost whispering tribes." The small ghost whispering tribe had been wiped out by Xiao Chun alone. Now, there were only 4 medium-sized tribes and 1 large tribe left in this area. For the time being, they weren't a match for the Night Food tribe. Xiao Chun planned to destroy the 4 medium-sized tribes first. In this way, he would probably obtain a lot of Tao thought seeds and make preparations to attack the Night Food tribe. However, with the current manpower, it was obviously not enough to deal with the Night Food tribe. Chapter 256. He was ready to attack the remaining 4 middle-sized tribes. Mu Feng and the other 3 nodded excitedly when they heard Xiao Chun's words. For such a long time, their mission was to look for their companions. As for killing the mind-reading ghosts, it was mostly done by Xiao Chun alone. Now that they were finally going to join the hunt, they were naturally excited. In the next few days, Xiao Chun didn't do much. Instead, he started to cultivate in seclusion. With the help of the Dan beads and the dense spiritual qi in the 5 Elements Palace, Xiao Chun's cultivation level soared like a rocket. After 5 times of being taught by the heavenly Tao, Xiao Chun didn't need to break through to the minor completion of the earth clear mirror anymore. Now, Xiao Chun only needed to absorb the spiritual qi, and he would be able to break through to the next level. Xiao Chun swallowed the Dan beads made by the pill Cloud Dominator one after another. The Dan beads melted on their own when they entered Xiao Chun's body. A stream of pure spiritual qi started to move inside Xiao Chun's body. In just 3 days, Xiao Chun had broken through from the earth mirror realm to the great accomplishment of the earth mirror realm. Then, it took him another 5 days to break through from the great accomplishment of the earth mirror realm to the small accomplishment of the earth mirror realm. In just 8 days, Xiao Chun broke through 2 minor levels. If he wasn't in the 5 Elements Palace, Xiao Chun wouldn't be able to do it even with his talent. It was indeed worthy of being one of the heavenly Chun continent's 5 great miracles. The Tao Intense Seeds in the 5 Elements Tao Palace were simply a gift from the heavens. If one had enough Tao Intense Seeds, even a pig could skyrocket and become a powerhouse. Of course, Xiao Chun didn't know that although the seeds of Tao were powerful, they were only useful for cultivators below the Tao Querying Realm. The Tao Querying Realm was a watershed for cultivators. To put it bluntly, cultivators below the Tao Querying Realm were only practicing martial arts. Cultivators above the Tao Querying Realm were starting to get in touch with Tao. Tao was above martial arts, or It could be said that martial arts were just the beginning of Tao, the tip of the iceberg. Once one began to come into contact with the level of Tao, the Tao intent seed would be completely useless. Thus, relying on the Tao intent seed, the highest level one could reach was the celestial tier. Any further, and it would be useless. Of course, this was still far from Xiao Chun. Currently, Xiao Chun was only at the minor perfection of the earthly mirror realm. By relying on the Tao insight seed, he could still break through to the heaven realm. Once he entered the heaven realm, Xiao Chen's combat strength would undergo another qualitative leap. He used 8 days to break through 2 minor realms consecutively. Moreover, because he used the Tao intent seed to break through, his foundation did not suffer any damage and was still extremely stable. On the 9th day, when Xiao Chun chose to come out of seclusion, Mu Feng and the other 3 had already broken through to the small success stage of the Earth Clear Mirror Realm. Seeing the 4 of them break through, the other Sky Prides were extremely envious. However, there was nothing they could do. The number of Tao 4 seeds was not enough to support so many Sky Prides, so they could only use them in batches. After gathering the 13 Sky Prides, Xiao Chun told them his plan. This time, Xiao Chun was going to attack the 4 large and medium-sized tribes. According to the information Xiao Chun had, the weakest of the 4 large and medium-sized tribes was guarded by 1 heavenly ghost, while the strongest had a total of 10 heavenly ghosts. They were very powerful. Therefore, in order to deal with the 4 large and medium-sized tribes, the only way was to break through them one by one and start with the weakest one. No one present had any objections to Xiao Chen's plan. They all knew that among the people present, only Xiao Chun could kill a heavenly ghost. Although Mu Feng and the other 3 had broken through to the small success stage of the Earth Clear Mirror Realm, they still did not have the strength to kill a heavenly ghost. At most, they could hold it back for a while. With the decision made, Xiao Chun led the Sky Prides away from the Plenty Fortune tribe on the same day and rushed to the weakest central tribe. There were no twists and turns in the battle. Under Xiao Chen's leadership, the middle-sized tribe was flattened as expected. After this battle, the Sky Prides obtained a total of 60 Tao Insight Seeds. Everyone was extremely excited about such a bountiful harvest. Xiao Chun was also very generous. After collecting the 60 Tao Insight Seeds and 6 sets of the 5 Elemental Tao Insight Seeds, he rewarded them to the 6 Sky Prides. He did not keep any for himself because the most urgent thing now was to improve their overall strength. These Sky Prides were indeed too weak when facing the spirit-reading ghosts. They could only kill the Earth Clear Mirror Spirit with great difficulty. If they were to encounter a heavenly ghost, they would be helpless. Therefore, Xiao Chun had to give these Sky Prides the strength to kill the heavenly ghost as soon as possible. He gave the 6 Sky Prides 5 days to make a breakthrough in their cultivation. 5 days later, the 6 of them successfully broke through to the Earth Clear Mirror Realm. As a result, among the 13 Sky Prides who followed Xiao Chun, 10 of them had already experienced the heavenly Tao's importation and made a breakthrough in their cultivation. Only 3 remained. Their overall strength had improved once again. Subsequently, Xiao Chun prepared to attack the second middle-sized tribe. However, this time, it was beyond Xiao Chen's expectations. This tribe actually joined forces with another middle-sized tribe, and the number of heavenly ghosts reached 5. 5 heavenly ghosts overseeing the tribe was beyond Xiao Chen's expectations. However, after a bloody battle, Xiao Chun killed the 5 heavenly ghosts on his own and wiped out the 2 middle-sized spirit-reading ghost tribes in one fell swoop. After killing 5 heavenly ghosts on his own, Xiao Chen's battle prowess had increased tremendously in the short span of a month since he entered the 5 Elemental Tao Palace. Mu Feng and the other Sky Prides were already numb to this. They no longer had the slightest desire to compete against the 10 great Sky Prides. They only wished to keep up with the 10 great Sky Prides. However, it seemed that just keeping up with the 10 great Sky Prides was no longer that easy. The gap between them was widening step by step. Just like now, all the Sky Prides were unable to kill a heavenly ghost in a one-on-one situation. However, Shao Chun was able to kill 5 heavenly ghosts in a one-on-one situation. It was easy to imagine how great the gap between them was. After destroying 2 middle-sized tribes in a row, the harvest this time was even more bountiful. He obtained over 100 Dao Insight Seeds in one go. A total of 10 sets of 5 Elemental Dao Insight Seeds were gathered. Shao Chun took out 3 sets and gave them to the 3 sky prides who had yet to experience the impartation of the heavenly Dao. As for the remaining 7 sets, Shao Chun kept them for himself to attempt to break through to the great circle of the Earth Spire realm. No one felt that there was a problem with Shao Chun's method. After all, Shao Chun's role had always been crucial. Moreover, Shao Chun could be said to have single-handedly turned the tide in every battle. Therefore, the distribution of the Dao Insight Seeds was completely up to Shao Chun. Shao Chun chose to go into seclusion again. This time, he planned to break through to the great circle of the Earth Spire realm. Chapter 257. After leaving behind 7 sets of 5 elemental Dao Will Seeds, Shao Chun went into seclusion again. This time, he wanted to break through to the great circle of the Earth Mirror realm in one fell swoop. Then, he would prepare to break through to the Sky realm. The celestial realm was already the limit of the human body. Every aspect of the body had already been tempered to the extreme, and this was also the preparation for the future contact with the Dao. Only by tempering the body to the extreme could one be qualified to touch the threshold of the Dao and then become a true Dao-seeking realm expert. One set of 5 elemental Dao Will Seeds after another were swallowed by Shao Chun. After 14 hours, after refining 7 sets of 5 elemental Dao Will Seeds, Shao Chun finally broke through the barrier to the great circle of the Earth Mirror realm. Shao Chun had only used 6 sets of Tao Thought Seeds of the 5 elements to rush all the way from the initial success of the Earth Mirror realm to the small completion of the Earth Mirror realm. Now, he had used up 7 sets of Tao Thought Seeds just to break through the realm barrier. This also proved that in order to use the Tao Thought Seeds to make a breakthrough, the more Tao Thought Seeds one would need. It was hard to imagine how many Tao Thought Seeds one would need to make a breakthrough to the celestial being realm. After all, the barrier of a big realm was far from the barrier of a small realm. In particular, one's comprehension of martial arts had an essential change. Shao Chun felt a little helpless, but he quickly suppressed these negative emotions. Now wasn't the time to think about these things. Besides, he was already in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. No matter how difficult it was, he had to find an opportunity to break through to the Sky realm. Otherwise, it would be a waste of this opportunity. After 5 days, Shao Chun successfully broke through to the great circle of the Earth Mirror realm. Now, he could finally make a move on the last middle-sized tribe. This last middle-sized tribe was called the Kuching tribe. Its leader, Kuching, was known as the strongest heavenly ghost. Moreover, the entire Kuching tribe had a total of 10 heavenly ghosts. Its strength had already surpassed the previous 3 middle-sized tribes combined. Hearing that Shao Chun was going to make a move on the Kuching tribe, Mu Feng and the other Sky Prides acted out of character this time. They did not choose to support him. King Bewitching Sword, this Kuching tribe is not simple. With our current strength, I'm afraid it will be difficult to defeat them. That's right. The Kuching tribe is said to have 10 heavenly ghosts, and their leader Kuching is known as the strongest heavenly ghost. On our side, only King Bewitching King can kill heavenly ghosts. Isn't it too risky to rashly attack the Kuching tribe? Proud King Bewitching Sword, why don't we find the other proud kings first, and then make a move on the Kuching tribe after we meet up? But the 10 heavenly ghosts would be troublesome. The 10 heavenly ghosts were troublesome, and the heavenly ghosts was. Even if Mu Feng and the other 4 peerless Sky Prides were to restrain the 5 heavenly ghosts, they would only be able to restrain them. Moreover, without Mu Feng and the other 4 peerless Sky Prides, the other elite Sky Prides would not be able to stop the Kuching tribe's Earth Mirror Ghost. In the end, Xiao Chun had to have the strength to kill 10 heavenly ghosts in order to attack the Kuching tribe. Otherwise, if Xiao Chun was defeated or killed, everyone would die. At first glance, the chances of victory were very slim. Faced with the Sky Pride's dissuasion, Xiao Chun was not angry. Everyone had their own reasons. However, there was one thing that they were wrong about. They had underestimated Xiao Chen's combat strength. 1 against 10. Who said he couldn't win? As long as Xiao Chun could kill the 10 heavenly ghosts of the Kuching tribe, there would be no change in the outcome of the battle. They would win without a doubt. Xiao Chun raised his hand and gestured for everyone to be quiet. Then he said indifferently, "Everyone, there is no need to worry about this battle. Leave the heavenly ghosts to me. The rest will be dealt with by you. As long as everyone does their job, this battle will be won." He had no intention of giving up. Seeing that Xiao Chun had spoken, although Mu Feng and the others were still worried, they did not say anything more. If they continued, they were afraid that Xiao Chun would be displeased. After deciding to attack the Kuching tribe, Xiao Chun led the Sky Prides away from the Duofu tribe. Seeing Xiao Chun and the others leave, Duofu looked at Xiao Chen's back with a look of horror. He really did not expect that Xiao Chun would dare to attack the Kuching tribe with such a small number of people. The Kuching tribe was the second largest tribe in this area. Although it was much weaker than the Nocturnal tribe, it was definitely not to be underestimated. Father is really bold. Duofu sighed softly and muttered to himself. Even Duofu did not have confidence in this battle. When Xiao Chun and the others arrived outside the Kuching tribe, Xiao Chun looked at the Sky Prides, who also did not have a good expression, and said calmly, "I only have one request. Just do your job well, and don't worry about anything else. This battle will be won without a doubt." His words were filled with confidence. Hearing this, Mu Feng and the other Sky Prides nodded speechlessly. They still did not know where Xiao Chen's confidence came from. One should know that when facing the Kuching tribe's heavenly ghosts, no one could help Xiao Chun. Everything depended on Xiao Chun. One could only imagine the difficulty of facing the encirclement of 10 heavenly ghosts alone. Even if he was a king of pride, wasn't it a little too difficult? Not to mention, there was also the Kuching tribe, a peak heavenly ghost. In response to everyone's doubts, Xiao Chun did not explain much. As soon as he finished speaking, nearly 1,000 mind-reading ghosts rushed out from the Kuching tribe. Looking at the large number of mind-reading ghosts, everyone's heart sank again. This time, it was really over. Facing such a large number of mind-reading ghosts, the Sky Prides would not be able to free up their hands to support Xiao Chun. In fact, they might even need Xiao Chen's support. Facing nearly 1,000 mind-reading ghosts, Xiao Chun did not change his expression at all. At the same time, the 10 heavenly ghosts led by Kuching slowly walked out and arrived in front of Xiao Chun. Kuching sneered. "Ha! You're the human who has been in the limelight recently and destroyed dozens of tribes." Hearing Kuching's words, Xiao Chun did not answer. Seeing this, Kuching did not mind and continued with a sinister smile. "Do you know why I have never taken the initiative to look for you? Because I know you will come to me on your own accord. Destroying dozens of tribes must have inflated your confidence. Therefore, you think you can destroy my Kuching tribe. Unfortunately, my Kuching tribe is not comparable to those ants. Today, I can obtain 14 hearts without any effort. With your hearts, I will definitely be able to break through to the half-step Ghost King realm." "Ha!" Kuching laughed coldly. Hearing Kuching's sneer, Xiao Chun said indifferently, "Noisy." Then he slashed out with his sword and took the initiative to attack. Chapter 258. Seeing this, Kuching's face darkened. "You're courting death." Then he took the initiative to meet the attack. The other 9 heavenly ghosts beside him also attacked. 1 man against 10 ghosts. Xiao Chun was already engaged in a fierce battle with 10 heavenly ghosts. At the same time, the many Di Ming mirror cultivators of the Kuching tribe, as well as the spirit-reading ghosts, rushed toward Mu Feng and the other prodigies. The prodigies did not hold back as the battle broke out. Although they did not have much confidence in this battle, Since the battle had already begun, they naturally could not allow themselves to be captured without putting up a fight. Therefore, Mu Feng and the others mustered up all their strength to fight against the numerous mind ghosts. It had to be said that after a period of improvement, Mu Feng and the others' battle strength had also improved significantly. The Earth Mirror level mind ghost could not last long against them. Now, it was no longer as difficult for Mu Feng and the others to kill the Earth Mirror level mind ghost as before. However, even though their strength had improved, the number of mind ghosts in the Clipchamp tribe was too many. There were nearly 1,000 of them. Facing such a large number, Mu Feng and the others were undoubtedly at a disadvantage. The situation was more dangerous than they had imagined. The Clipchamp tribe was stronger than they had imagined. In the face of the current situation, the demand for Shao Chun was even higher. This was because not only could Mu Feng and the others not support Shao Chun, but they also needed Shao Chen's support. In other words, Shao Chun had to kill the 10 heavenly ghosts, including Clipchamp, in the shortest time possible, and then support Mu Feng and the others. Otherwise, Mu Feng and the others would not be able to hold on for long under the siege of so many mind ghosts. The situation was worse than they had imagined. Shao Chun understood this, but he did not change his expression too much. He fought fiercely with the 10 heavenly ghosts, as if victory was already in his grasp. Clipchamp sneered as he watched Shao Chun constantly dodging. "How is it, human? Now you know how foolish your decision was." In Clipchamp's view, Shao Chun was courting death by fighting 10 enemies alone. The combat effectiveness of the heavenly ghost was stronger than that of an ordinary human warrior in the celestial realm. But Shao Chun dared to fight 10 enemies alone. In the face of Clipchamp's sneer, Shao Chun said indifferently, "You think it's stupid, but I don't think so. It's just 10 heavenly ghosts. If they can't even deal with you, how can they deal with the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe? Deal with the Night Eater tribe? Haha, what an idiot. You want to deal with the Nocturnal tribe? Talk if you can survive today." With a loud laugh, Clipchamp tried to grab Shao Chun with his claws. Seeing this, Shao Chun thrust out his red-edged sword fiercely and collided with Clipchamp's sharp claws. She was indeed much stronger than the average heavenly ghost. It was no wonder that Clipchamp was known as the strongest heavenly ghost. However, if that was all, it was still not enough. After blocking Clipchamp's attack with his sword, Shao Chun took advantage of the situation and pointed his finger. He performed the Chun Jun sword finger and a golden sword ray shot toward a heavenly ghost on his right. Since he dared to take the initiative to come to the Clipchamp tribe, how could Shao Chun not have some confidence? Others might not know about his progress in the past half a month, but Shao Chun was very clear about it. From the initial achievement of the Earth Realm to the great perfection of the Earth Realm, Shao Chun's combat effectiveness had also increased by several levels. Never underestimate the King of Jiao. Both of them had made a breakthrough, but no one knew what kind of earth-shaking changes the King of Jiao's combat effectiveness would take place after making a breakthrough. This was the case for Shao Chun. The breakthrough in cultivation was only superficial, but the breakthrough in combat effectiveness was truly shocking. Compared to half a month ago when he killed the heavenly ghost outside the Night Eclipse tribe, Shao Chun no longer needed to perform a killing move like the Tai Yi sword finger to kill a heavenly ghost. A simple Chun Jun sword finger was enough. The golden sword ray seemed to cut through space and shot toward the heavenly ghost. The heavenly ghost had no time to react. While it was still in a daze, the sword ray had already penetrated its glabella. He killed a heavenly ghost with a single finger. Seeing this, Clipchamp's laughter came to an abrupt end. He stared dumbfounded at the heavenly ghost that Shao Chun had killed. How was this possible? This was a heavenly ghost. How could it be killed by a human with a single finger? Ignoring Clipchamp's shock, Shao Chun said indifferently, "As I said, it's just 10 heavenly ghosts. It won't change anything." Without waiting for Clipchamp's reply, Shao Chun slashed out with his sword. Wherever the blade passed, another heavenly ghost was split in half. In the face of Shao Chun's sword chi, the heavenly ghost's tough skin was as fragile as paper. Shao Chun's sword chi contained a faint trace of intent. In other words, Xiao Qian's sword qi had already begun to transform in the direction of sword intent. An earth-clear mirror realm cultivator, a young man in his early 20s, had actually touched the threshold of sword intent. Although he hadn't really taken that step yet, this was already enough to shock people. One must know that the older generation of sword cultivators like Song Xian, Song Yun, and Song Long had immersed themselves in the way of the sword for hundreds of years, but they had only grasped the basics of sword intent. With the addition of a trace of sword intent, Xiao Qian's sword qi became sharper and sharper. Dealing with the heavenly ghosts was like chopping melons and vegetables. The battle had only begun for a short period of time, but Xiao Qian had already killed 2 heavenly ghosts. Such a scene was completely beyond Ku Qing's expectations. He never thought that a human could be so strong. It wasn't that Ku Qing hadn't dealt with humans before. Every few years, there would be humans entering the 5-element Dao Palace from the Tianqian continent. But among so many humans, Ku Qing had never met anyone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Xiao Qian. Ku Qing's face changed dramatically, and he no longer had the confidence he had before. Xiao Qian's powerful strength made Ku Qing feel extreme danger. Without hesitation, Ku Qing immediately roared, "Kill! Kill this human for me!" Upon hearing Ku Qing's roar, the remaining 8 heavenly ghosts, after being stunned for a moment, frantically attacked Xiao Qian. They knew that today, either they would join forces to kill Xiao Qian, or Xiao Qian would slaughter them all with his sword. There was no third possibility. At the same time, as the strongest heavenly ghost, Ku Qing also took the lead and rushed toward Xiao Qian. Seeing this, Xiao Qian smiled coldly. Is there any use in struggling on the verge of death? 3 layers of waves, 1,000-layered waves. As soon as his voice fell, Xiao Qian slashed out with his sword. The second layer of the 3 layers of waves, 1,000-layered waves, surged with spiritual power and rushed towards Ku Qing and the others like a monstrous wave. Moreover, there were countless sharp sword qi hidden in the monstrous wave. Once caught in the monstrous wave, these sword qi were enough to tear it to pieces in an instant. Chapter 259. After breaking through 3 small realms in a row, Xiao Qian was able to display the second wave of the triple overlapping waves. The huge wave of spiritual power instantly engulfed Ku Qing and the other heavenly ghosts, and countless sharp sword qis continued to tear their bodies apart. Although the heavenly ghost bodies were extremely strong, under the devastation of Xiao Qian's sword qis, several heavenly ghosts immediately spewed out blood mist, and their bodies were soon covered with wounds. Ku Qing and the others frantically rushed out of the huge wave. They all knew that if they were trapped in this huge wave, they would be killed by the endless sword qis sooner or later. Only by rushing out could they have a chance of survival. Ku Qing, who was the strongest, was the first to rush out of the huge wave, followed by 5 other heavenly ghosts. However, although they rushed out, they were still seriously injured. At the same time, the 3 heavenly ghosts who did not rush out of the huge wave were already on the verge of death. They no longer had the strength to resist the impact of the huge wave of spiritual power. Accompanied by a burst of screams, the 3 heavenly ghosts who did not succeed in rushing out of the huge wave of spiritual power were finally torn into pieces by the sword qis. In a short period of contact, Xiao Qian had already killed 5 heavenly ghosts. This kind of combat power shocked Ku Qing, and he looked at Xiao Qian with a trace of horror in his eyes. This human's combat power was completely beyond his expectations. He did not care about the trace of horror on Ku Qing's face. After killing 3 heavenly ghosts in one move, Xiao Qian did not stop. He immediately rushed toward the nearest heavenly ghost. It was obvious that Mu Feng and the others could not resist the mirror-reading ghosts of the Ku Qing tribe. Because there were too many of them, Mu Feng and the others could not hold on for long. Therefore, Xiao Qian must kill Ku Qing and the other heavenly ghosts as soon as possible, so that he could be free to support Mu Feng and the others. In the face of Xiao Qian's attack, the heavenly ghost's face changed greatly, and he instinctively wanted to retreat. Seeing this, Shao Chun fiercely stabbed with the long sword in his hand. The sword light flashed and directly penetrated the heavenly ghost's forehead. He killed another one. Now, ordinary heavenly ghosts were no longer enough to deal with Shao Chun. There were only 4 heavenly ghosts left. Seeing this, Keqing shouted angrily and rushed towards Shao Chun again. He knew that they could only fight against Shao Chun if they joined forces. Gathering the remaining 4 heavenly ghosts to besiege Shao Chun again, Shao Chun didn't care. He deliberately avoided a head-on confrontation with Keqing. Shao Chun's primary goal was to kill the remaining 4 ordinary heavenly ghosts. Watching the heavenly ghost being killed by Shao Chun, Keqing tried his best to stop him, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, all the heavenly ghosts were slaughtered by Shao Chun, leaving only Keqing standing alone in front of Shao Chun. Looking calmly at Keqing in front of him, Shao Chun shook off the blood on his sword and said softly, "Well, it's your turn now." For a long time, Shao Chun didn't fight Keqing head-on. Instead, he always aimed to kill the ordinary heavenly ghosts. Now, all the ordinary heavenly ghosts had been killed by Shao Chun, and only Keqing was left. Compared to the ordinary heavenly ghosts, Keqing's strength was obviously much stronger. Hearing Shao Chun's words, Keqing didn't answer. At this time, Keqing calmed down from his anger. The tribe's heavenly ghosts had all died at the hands of Shao Chun. Facing Shao Chun in front of him, Keqing was extremely afraid. However, he also knew that there were now 2 paths in front of him. Either he killed Shao Chun himself, or Shao Chun killed him. The battle between them was also related to the direction of the whole battle. If Shao Chun won, then he would be able to free himself to deal with the other thought ghosts. Of course, the reverse was also true. If Shao Chun was defeated, then Keqing would also be able to free himself to deal with Mu Feng and the others. With a roar, Keqing took the initiative to attack. There was no way back. Even though he was very afraid of Shao Chun, Keqing could only choose to fight to the death. A pair of sharp claws emitted a faint red glow. His aura had been raised to the extreme, and he slashed down fiercely. Seeing this, Shao Chun blocked with his sword. Although he successfully blocked Keqing's attack, he was also knocked back a few steps. As expected of the strongest heavenly ghost, Keqing's battle strength was indeed extraordinary. It was precisely because of this that Shao Chun left him for last and dealt with the small fries first. After all, facing Keqing, Shao Chun had to go all out to have a chance of winning. After being forced back by Keqing's claw, Shao Chun stopped his body. He pointed his finger and displayed the Chun Jun sword finger. The golden sword light whizzed over. In response, Keqing slapped out with his claw and directly shattered the golden sword light. Obviously, the Chun Jun sword finger was not much of a threat to Keqing. However, Shao Chun did not seem to be aware of this problem at this time. He continued to display the Chun Jun sword finger. Rays of golden sword light madly shot toward Keqing. The sky was filled with sword shadows, but even so, the pure Jun sword finger was still unable to cause any harm to Keqing. Keqing shouted coldly, "What are you waiting for? Human, are you at your wit's end? This level of attack can't hurt me at all." It was impossible for the Chun Jun sword finger to hurt Keqing. Hearing this, Shao Chun smiled slightly and directly displayed the Dragon Transformation secret skill. With the Dragon Transformation secret skill, Shao Chun's aura continued to rise. Soon, it rose from the earth-clear mirror realm to the quintessential saint realm. With the support of the secret skill, Shao Chun's cultivation rose by a whole realm. At the same time, the power of the Chun Jun sword finger increased by a lot. Faced with the sudden increase in power of the Chun Jun sword finger, Keqing was caught off guard. A bloody hole immediately appeared on his body. This was just the beginning. The golden sword light that filled the sky continued to penetrate Keqing's body. In just a few breaths, Keqing was covered in blood. The previous continuous attacks were just to make Keqing think that the Chun Jun sword finger was no threat to him at all. It was because Keqing had let down his guard that Shao Chun was able to catch him off guard. Keqing was injured in an instant. This was just the beginning. Shao Chun naturally did not expect to kill Keqing with the Chun Jun sword finger alone. After seeing that Kuqing was injured, Xiao Chun did not stop and directly displayed his final killing move, the Tai Sword Finger. It was the most powerful attack that Xiao Chun had mastered at the moment, and it was cast while he was in the state of the Dragon Transformation secret technique. It could be said that this attack was the most powerful attack that Xiao Chun had so far. A thick beam of spiritual energy shot out and immediately engulfed Kuqing. After being hit by the Tai Sword Finger, Kuqing screamed continuously. His already injured body was even worse. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood. Under the powerful attack of the Tai Sword Finger, Kuqing was blasted into pieces. Chapter 260. Xiao Chun had successfully killed Kuqing. Although Xiao Chun had less than a tenth of his spiritual energy left, the morale of the other spirit-reading ghosts plummeted with Kuqing's death. Even their own chief and a group of heavenly ghosts had been killed by Xiao Chun. How could the remaining spirit-reading ghosts have the courage to continue fighting? Compared to the spirit-reading ghosts, Mu Feng and the others were extremely excited. In the beginning, no one was optimistic about Xiao Chun. Who would have thought that Xiao Chun would be able to kill all the heavenly ghosts of the Kuqing tribe in such a short period of time? Such battle prowess was simply unacceptable to the Sky Prides. Xiao Chun had only been in the Five Elements Tao Palace for a short month, but he had already grown to such a level. This time, the Sky Prides could be said to have witnessed Xiao Chun's growth step by step with their own eyes. Therefore, this time, they could be said to have experienced the growth rate of the King of Geniuses. This was simply heaven-defying. Compared to the growth rate of the King of Geniuses, these Sky Prides were simply not worth mentioning. With Kuqing's death, Xiao Chun joined Mu Feng and the others. Although Xiao Chun had expended a lot of his spiritual energy in the previous battle, dealing with ordinary spirit-reading ghosts of the Earth Mirror level was nothing to Xiao Chun. Basically, he did not need to use any martial techniques. Simple sword techniques were enough to easily kill these spirit-reading ghosts. With the death of all the heavenly ghosts and the addition of Xiao Chun, the Kuqing tribe quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. Moreover, under Xiao Chun's leadership, Mu Feng and the others battle intense sword. Under this situation, it did not take long for the spirit-reading ghosts of the Kuqing tribe to be completely annihilated. Originally, they thought that it was impossible to destroy the Kuqing tribe. However, due to Xiao Chun's astonishing performance, they succeeded in the end. Moreover, no one died. Of course, there were many who were injured. Almost everyone was injured. They didn't care about their own injuries. After obtaining a complete victory, everyone immediately began to count the gains of this battle. After experiencing such a difficult battle, everyone was looking forward to exactly how many seeds of Tao thought they could obtain this time. After a round of inventory and statistics, the harvest from the battle at the Kuqing tribe was indeed very rich. They had obtained nearly 200 Tao Force seeds, which was enough to gather 15 sets of 5 elements Tao Force seeds. With the joy of victory, everyone returned to the Duo Fu tribe. Seeing that Xiao Chun and the others had returned, Duo Fu, as a Taoist ghost, found it hard to believe that Xiao Chun had really wiped out the Kuqing tribe. That was the second largest Taoist ghost tribe in this area, and now it had been wiped out by Xiao Chun. After resting for a day, on the second day, Xiao Chun distributed all the Tao Insight seeds he had obtained this time to Mu Feng and the other 4 Supreme Prodigies, so that they could raise their cultivation levels to the Earth Clear Mirror stage as soon as possible. He didn't use them himself because Xiao Chun knew that even if he had 15 sets of 5 elements Tao Insight seeds to refine, he still wouldn't be able to break through the barrier of the celestial realm. The barrier of a major realm wasn't that easy to break through. According to Xiao Chun's guess, he would need at least 30 sets of 5 elements Tao Insight seeds to break through the celestial realm. At the moment, he didn't have that many Tao Insight seeds to support his breakthrough to the celestial realm. Currently, almost all of the spirit-reading tribes in this region have been destroyed by Xiao Chun and the rest, except for the Night Eclipse tribe. Next, Xiao Chun was presented with 2 options. He could either directly attack the Night Eclipse tribe or travel to other regions to continue hunting spirit reading. After thinking about it, Xiao Chun finally gave up on the idea of attacking the Night Eclipse tribe. Although the number of Dao Insight seeds he would obtain would be unimaginable if he were to attack the Night Eclipse tribe and win, the problem was that with Xiao Chun and the rest's current strength, they were still no match for the Night Eclipse tribe. In the entire Night Eclipse tribe, there was not only a half-step ghost king, but also hundreds of heavenly ghosts. This force alone wasn't something that Xiao Chun could deal with. First of all, Xiao Chun didn't have the slightest confidence to face the half-step ghost king. Moreover, even if he could contend with a half-step ghost king, what about the hundreds of heavenly ghosts that remained? Could he rely on Mu Feng and the rest to deal with them? Obviously, that was impossible. He still wasn't strong enough. Of course, that was also because everyone had been scattered. If the 10 prides were to gather together, in addition to the hundreds of sky prides, they should be able to annihilate the Night Eclipse tribe. Unfortunately, the current situation was that everyone was scattered. After giving up the idea of attacking the Night Eclipse tribe directly, Xiao Chun could only choose the second option. That was to leave this region and travel to other regions to continue hunting spirit reading. Once his strength had completely broken through to the celestial realm, he would then turn back to attack the Night Eclipse tribe. At the same time, he might be able to meet other people during this period. That way, he would have more confidence when dealing with the Night Eclipse tribe. Now that he had made his decision, all he had to do was wait for Mu Feng and the other 4 prodigies to break through before leaving. Xiao Chun didn't intend to waste any time in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. After all, he only had 3 months in total. After 3 months, he would be forcefully expelled from the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. Therefore, he had to do his best to break through his cultivation during this period. After all, it was obviously impossible to break through so quickly after leaving the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. After patiently waiting for 3 days, Mu Feng and the other 4 prodigies finally broke through to the greater success of the Earth Mirror Realm. After that, Xiao Chun told everyone about his plan. No one had any objections because Xiao Chun's plan was the most reliable. They prepared to leave. This time, it was obvious that they wouldn't be able to return in a short period of time, because Xiao Chun and the others wanted to leave this region directly. He asked Duo Fu. After all, Duo Fu was born and raised in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. Hence, Duo Fu clearly knew more about the 5 Elemental Dao Palace than he did. Under Xiao Chun's inquiry, Duo Fu gave his own suggestion. According to Duo Fu, the region they were in was located in the southeast of the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. It was called the Night Feeding Zone. If Xiao Chun wanted to obtain more Dao 4 seeds in a short period of time, he could try going west. There was a region called the 100 Ghost Zone that was very suitable for Xiao Chun. It bordered the Night Feeding Zone, but its area was much larger than the Night Feeding Zone. Moreover, unlike the Night Feeding Zone where there was only one tribe, there were hundreds of ghost reading tribes in the 100 Ghost Zone. Moreover, the ghost reading tribes in the 100 Ghost Zone didn't have powerful existences like the half-step ghost kings and the night feeding tribes. It was precisely because there wasn't a true king tribe that the 100 Ghost Zone was more suitable for Xiao Chun. With Xiao Chun's current strength, he could go to the White Ghost Zone to collect Dao 4 seeds faster and prepare for his breakthrough to the celestial realm. Chapter 261. Unlike the Nocturnal Feeding Zone, the 100 Ghost Zone could be said to have 100 flowers blooming. Due to this, the area of the 100 Ghost Zone was extremely huge. According to the rumors, the entire 100 Ghost Zone was at least as big as 10 Nocturnal Feeding Zones. Moreover, there wasn't a single tribe as powerful as the Nocturnal Feeding Zones. After hearing Duo Fu's suggestion, Xiao Chun immediately decided to head to the 100 Ghost Zone. That was indeed the most suitable place for him. The main reason why Xiao Chun wanted to leave the Nocturnal Feeding Zone was because he wasn't a match for the Nocturnal Feeding Zones. Moreover, the other tribes had all been annihilated by him, so he had to leave. However, the White Ghost Zone didn't have such a problem. In the 100 Ghost Zone, there were countless ghost whisperer tribes, but none of them were as powerful as the nocturnal feeding zones. In this case, Xiao Chun had too many choices. After making his decision, Xiao Chun immediately prepared to depart. Before he left, Duo Fu and the Ghost Whisperer tribe saw him off. Duo Fu and the other Ghost Whisperer tribes shouted as they watched Xiao Chun leave. Father. They were completely immune to being called father. Xiao Chun didn't feel reluctant to part with Duo Fu. Of course, it was the same for Duo Fu. To be honest, Duo Fu heaved a sigh of relief when Xiao Chun left. All along, Duo Fu had been so respectful because of Xiao Chun's strength. They headed towards the 100 Ghost Zone. As all the Ghost Whisperer tribes in the Nocturnal Feeding Zone had been annihilated by Xiao Chun, they didn't encounter any danger along the way. The Nocturnal Feeding Zone wasn't huge. In less than a day, Xiao Chun and the others set foot on a huge mountain range. This mountain range was also the boundary between the 100 Ghost Zone and the Nocturnal Feeding Zone. Due to the existence of the Nocturnal Feeding Zones, the Ghost Whisperer tribes in the 100 Ghost Zone had never dared to step into the Nocturnal Feeding Zone. After Xiao Chun and the others entered the mountain range, they didn't know that they had been targeted by the Ghost Whisperer tribes from the beginning. A heavenly ghost was hiding in the dark. When it saw Xiao Chun and the others enter the mountain range, it quickly disappeared into the dense forest. Unlike the Nocturnal Feeding Zone, the Ghost Chanting tribe in the 100 Ghost Zone had already started hunting humans. Of course, the peace in this region was due to the tribe. Before the opening of the Elemental Dao Palace, the tribe's leader went into seclusion to break through to the Ghost King realm. Because of this, the tribe didn't hunt humans until now. The Nocturnal Eclipse tribe didn't make a move, and the other Ghost Whisperer tribes weren't Xiao Chun's match at all. As a result, the Nocturnal Eclipse region fell into a strange silence. Unlike the Nocturnal Feeding Zone, the Ghost Zone had begun their operation the moment the 5 Elemental Dao Palace opened. They had launched a full-scale massacre of the humans in the Ghost Zone, and several Heaven's Prides had already been slain. Xiao Chun's group was completely unaware of this. As they walked through the dense rainforest, they did not let down their guard. Mu Feng asked curiously as he followed beside Xiao Chun. Didn't the 100 Ghosts Zone claim to have several hundred Ghost Remembrance tribes? Why is it so quiet? Could it be because we haven't ventured deep into the Ghost Zone? We're only at the edge, so there aren't any Ghost Remembrance tribes, one of the Heaven's Prides said. Everyone felt a little strange about the peace along the way. Hearing their conversation, Xiao Chun, who was walking at the front, smiled. Actually, we've been watched for a long time. Watched for a long time? Hearing Xiao Chun's words, the expressions of the Heaven's Prides changed slightly. They said in disbelief, Demon Sword King, that can't be. We haven't even encountered a single Ghost Remembrance tribe. How could we be watched? The Heaven's Prides did not sense anything amiss, and Xiao Chun did not say much about it. Xiao Chun had already known of the Heavenly Ghost's existence when it was hiding in the dark. When the Heavenly Ghost left secretly, Xiao Chun did not make any moves. His purpose was to set up a long line to catch a big fish. He knew that the Heavenly Ghost must have gone back to report to the Ghost Remembrance tribe. Soon, the Ghost Remembrance tribe would surround them. They were already prepared. Just as Xiao Chun expected, a large group of Ghost Remembrance tribes surrounded them from all directions. From the dense forest, ugly Ghost Remembrance tribes appeared one after another. There were more than 200 of them, and the ones leading them were 5 heavenly ghosts. Such a lineup was indeed not weak. However, these Ghost Remembrance tribes obviously did not know that Xiao Chun's group had even wiped out the Kuqin tribe when they were in the Night Eater Zone. The lineup in front of them was much weaker than the Kuqin tribe. Because of this, even though they were surrounded, the group did not panic at all. Instead, they were all excited. In their eyes, these Ghost Remembrance tribes were Dao Force seeds. The 100 Ghost Zone is indeed a good place. We've just entered, and we've already reaped such rewards. Mu Feng could not help but laugh out loud before the battle had even begun. Hearing Mu Feng's words, Xiao Chun smiled but did not say anything. Meanwhile, one of the 5 heavenly ghosts that blocked their way shouted, "Humans, are you from the Night Eater Zone? Haha, You must have escaped into the 100 Ghost Zone to avoid being hunted down by the Night Eater tribe, right? Unfortunately, even if you manage to escape from the Night Eater tribe, you will still die in the hands of the Polar tribe. They thought that Xiao Qin's group had escaped here to avoid being hunted down by the Night Eater tribe. Obviously, these Ghost Remembrance tribes did not know that the leader of the Night Eater tribe was in seclusion. Hearing the heavenly ghost's words, Xiao Chun smiled faintly. The Polar tribe? Was this the first Ghost Remembrance tribe that he had encountered after entering the 100 Ghost Zone? With a faint smile on his face, Xiao Chun said indifferently, "I'm afraid it's still too early to say who will emerge victorious. Have you not considered that we might be the ones to kill you in the end and obtain the Tao Force seeds in your bodies? Haha, wishful thinking. Attack. Kill these humans, and the leader will definitely reward you handsomely." Hearing Xiao Qin's words, the heavenly ghost immediately sneered. Then, with a loud shout, the Ghost Remembrance tribes charged at the group. Everyone was no stranger to the battle with the Ghost Remembrance tribes. Facing the attack of so many Ghost Remembrance tribes, Xiao Chun did not even have to say anything. Mu Feng and the rest consciously went up to meet them. As for Xiao Chun, he was naturally responsible for the 5 heavenly ghosts in front of him. As the fierce battle broke out, Xiao Chun slowly walked toward the 5 heavenly ghosts. To be honest, Xiao Chun did not care about the 5 heavenly ghosts. Chapter 262. Seeing Xiao Chun strolling towards them, the 5 heavenly ghosts were immediately enraged. A mere human dared to be so arrogant in the face of 5 heavenly ghosts. One of the heavenly ghosts could not hold back the anger in its heart. It took a step forward and directly attacked Xiao Chun. It had no understanding of Xiao Qin's combat strength at all. Otherwise, this heavenly ghost would not have dared to attack Xiao Qin alone. In the face of this heavenly ghost's attack, a murderous intent flashed in Xiao Qin's eyes. He then gently pointed his finger and directly displayed the Chun Jun sword finger. A golden sword light flashed. Against ordinary heavenly ghosts, the Chun Jun sword finger could directly kill them. The heavenly ghost's expression immediately changed when it faced the Chun Jun sword finger. It was originally rushing toward Xiao Chun, but it also stopped directly. An extreme sense of danger rose uncontrollably from the bottom of its heart. It wanted to retreat, but it was obviously too late. The golden sword light directly pierced through the heavenly ghost's head. Its body fell with a thud, and a Tao thought seed slowly floated out of its corpse. Xiao Chun unceremoniously put the Tao thought seed into his arms. At the same time, seeing that Xiao Chun had killed a heavenly ghost with a single finger, the remaining 4 heavenly ghosts were also stunned. How could a mere human kill a heavenly ghost so easily? They had already realized that they had hit an iron plate. The human in front of them was obviously not to be trifled with. His strength made the 4 heavenly ghosts want to retreat. They already had the intention to retreat, but at this time, Xiao Chun naturally would not give them any chance to escape. Seeing that the 4 heavenly ghosts no longer took the initiative to attack, Xiao Chun took the initiative to attack the 4 heavenly ghosts. Xiao Chun held the scarlet-edged sword in his hand, and a perfect sword chi soared into the sky. Unsurprisingly, the 4 heavenly ghosts did not have much power to fight back under Xiao Chun's sword. In just over 100 breaths, Xiao Chun killed 3 of them and captured 1 alive. The reason why he left the last heavenly ghost behind was simple. Xiao Chun wanted to go to the base of the Polar tribe. Obviously, there were still spirit-reading ghosts there, which would allow Xiao Chun to obtain more Tao insight seeds. In order to break through to the celestial realm as soon as possible, Xiao Chun needed a huge amount of Tao thought seeds. It was also because of this that Xiao Chun had to do his best to kill the thought ghosts. Xiao Chun placed the scarlet-edged sword across the heavenly ghost's neck and looked down at it. He smiled and said, "You will take me to the Polar tribe, right?" Hearing this, the heavenly ghost naturally knew why Xiao Chun wanted to go to the Polar tribe. Obviously, Xiao Chun wanted to uproot the entire Polar tribe. Knowing Xiao Qin's purpose, The heavenly ghost was very stubborn at first and immediately refused. However, such stubbornness did not last long in front of Xiao Chun. Soon, the heavenly ghost chose to submit. It was completely frightened by Xiao Chun. In the eyes of the heavenly ghost, Xiao Chun was even crueler than it was. It did not want to experience such means again in its lifetime. After a beating, the heavenly ghost became much more obedient and answered all of Xiao Chun's questions truthfully. From the heavenly ghost, Xiao Chun roughly understood the situation of the polar tribe. Their overall strength was about the same as the Kuching tribe, so Xiao Chun was not much of a threat. After learning about the overall strength of the polar tribe, Mu Feng and the others also killed the rest of the thought ghosts and handed over all the Dao insight seeds to Xiao Chun. Then, the group of people headed towards the polar tribe. It was located in this mountain range. They went all the way to the polar tribe. However, when they were still far away, Xiao Chun saw a tree trunk outside the polar tribe. On the tree trunk, there was a sky pride's corpse that had been directly pierced through and hung in midair. Seeing this corpse, Xiao Chun unconsciously stopped in his tracks. At the same time, the expressions of Mu Feng and the others changed. Xiao Chun knew this sky pride. He seemed to be from the Burning Sky sect. He did not expect that he had been killed by the thought ghosts. It seemed that he was caught by the polar tribe before he could meet up with the others and had his heart dug out. Looking at the corpse in front of them, Mu Feng and the others felt somewhat sorrowful. At the same time, they felt very fortunate that they had met Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun had led them to destroy so many thought ghost tribes during this period of time. It was all because of Xiao Chun's existence. Think about it. If they had not met Xiao Chun, what would the situation be like? Perhaps they would not be much better off than this Sky Pride. In the Five Elements Dao Palace, the Sky Prides were indeed in extreme danger without the protection of the King of Prides. This was because any heavenly ghost was enough to take their lives. Therefore, it was very important to find a King of Prides as soon as possible. Otherwise, they might end up like this Sky Pride, buried in a foreign land and eaten by the thought ghosts. Retracting his gaze, Xiao Chun looked at the heavenly ghost with an indifferent expression. Did you guys kill this person? No, it wasn't me. The leader killed him. I didn't do anything. Also, I didn't eat his heart. The leader ate it all. Hearing Xiao Chun's words, the heavenly ghost nervously replied. Xiao Chun did not say anything else after hearing the heavenly ghost reply. He pointed his finger and killed the heavenly ghost. Since they had already arrived at the Polar Ground tribe, this heavenly ghost was of no use at all. After killing the heavenly ghost, Xiao Chun said to Mu Feng and the others, "Go and put him down." They were all humans of the heavenly Chun continent. Seeing this Sky Pride's corpse hanging there, Xiao Chun did not feel good. Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Mu Feng and the others immediately nodded and went to put down the Sky Pride's corpse. At the same time, after Mu Feng and the others appeared, in less than 10 breaths of time, hundreds of mind-reading ghosts rushed out from the Polar Ground tribe. They were led by 5 heavenly ghosts. One of them was comparable to Kuching. He should be the leader of the Polar Ground tribe. Seeing more than 10 humans appear, the leader of the Polar Ground tribe laughed out loud. However, before he could finish laughing, a sword light whizzed toward him. Because of this Sky Pride's death, Xiao Chun was not in a good mood. Therefore, he did not want to waste time talking nonsense with these mind-reading ghosts. He chose to attack directly. The leader of the Polar Ground tribe and the 4 heavenly ghosts beside him changed their expressions and hurriedly dodged the sword light. At the same time, Xiao Chun attacked with the Scarlet Edge sword in his hand. Seeing Xiao Chun's attack, the leader of the Polar Ground tribe angrily shouted, "Kill these humans." Then, the 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. He left Lian to guard the Sky Pride's corpse, while the others followed Xiao Chun to fight the mind-reading ghosts of the Polar Ground tribe. Chapter 263. Xiao Chun and the others were engaged in a fierce battle with the spirit-reading ghosts of the Polar tribe. In fact, Xiao Chun and the others did not have a deep bond with the dead genius. They were merely acquaintances. However, as they were in the Five Elements Palace, It was only natural for them to be furious when they saw the spirit-reading ghosts dig out the genius's heart and use his corpse as a flagpole. At the same time, when they saw the young genius's corpse, they suddenly remembered what the ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds had said before entering the Tao Palace. In the Tao Palace, humans weren't the only ones who hunted the Nian Gui. The Nian Gui also hunted humans. Both sides were waiting for the day when the Tao Palace would open. Humans used the seeds of Tao consciousness to break through, and the Nian Gui used the hearts of humans to break through. With a ball of anger in their hearts, everyone naturally became more ruthless. Under the leadership of Xiao Chun, it was no surprise that the polar tribe was uprooted. After harvesting more than 100 Tao Will seeds, everyone found a place with good feng shui to bury the body of this heaven's pride. After dying in the Tao Palace of 5 elements, the body couldn't be left and could only be buried on the spot. A heaven's pride of a generation was buried in a foreign land. This also proved that on the path of martial arts, even if you had supreme talent, it was fraught with danger. Talent only meant that you could reach higher heights, but it didn't guarantee that you would be able to reach that step. Therefore, on the path of martial arts, every step had to be taken carefully. After burying the heaven's pride, Xiao Chun and the others continued their journey to hunt down the mind-reading ghosts. They were eager to break through to the celestial being layer. In the following days, they didn't slack off. After entering the ghost zone, Xiao Chun was like a fish in the sea. He had countless targets to choose from. There wasn't a strong tribe like the Night Eclipse tribe in the ghost zone. There weren't any ghost kings or half-step ghost kings either. The strongest were only Tian ghosts. Therefore, with Xiao Chen's strength, he was able to do whatever he wanted. Wherever the group went, the tribes of Ningguwei tribe were uprooted one by one. The continuous hunting had increased the number of seeds in Xiao Chen's pocket. Of course, during this period, Xiao Chen also took out a portion of the seeds and gave them to Mu Feng and the others. As for himself, he did not use them for the time being. He planned to use them to break through the barrier when he broke through to the celestial being realm. After sweeping through the ghost zone for half a month, Xiao Chun finally found a valley and prepared to break through to the celestial being layer. After half a month of sweeping, Xiao Chun had collected as many as 40 sets of 5 elemental seeds. Of course, Xiao Chun gave most of them to Mu Feng and the others. At this time, Mu Feng and the other 4 exceptional geniuses had reached the great perfection of the Earth Mirror Realm. The other 8 top geniuses had also reached the lesser perfection of the Earth Mirror Realm. With such strength, they were much stronger than when they entered the 5 elemental Tao Palace. With Mu Feng and the others' cultivation, they could now kill Tian ghosts. This was especially true for the exceptional geniuses. They could fight against several Tian ghosts alone. Now, all they had to do was wait for Xiao Chun to break through to the celestial being layer. Then, they should be able to destroy the Night Eclipse tribe. Xiao Chun asked the others to protect him while he opened up a cave for temporary closed-door training. More than 10 geniuses stood guard outside the cave. At the same time, Xiao Chun, who was sitting cross-legged in the cave, swallowed the first set of 5 elemental seeds. Xiao Chun was already very familiar with the feeling of being imparted by the heavenly Tao. His soul seemed to be in an endless galaxy. Xiao Chun swallowed one set of 5 elemental seeds after another. Soon, all 30 sets of 5 elemental seeds were refined by Xiao Chun. However, the barrier to breaking through to the celestial being layer was still not broken. The number of 5 elemental seeds needed to break through to the next realm was definitely the most. To put it this way, the number of 5 elemental seeds Xiao Chun needed to break through to the celestial being layer from the great perfection of the Earth Mirror Realm was definitely much more than what Xiao Chun needed to break through to the lesser perfection of the celestial being layer. After all, this was breaking through to the next realm. After refining 35 sets of 5 elemental seeds, Xiao Chun felt a muffled sound coming from his body. The barrier to breaking through to the celestial being layer was finally broken. Without the barrier, Xiao Chun did not hesitate. He swallowed more than 10 elixirs and began to break through to the celestial being layer. The celestial being layer, as the name implied, was the realm of being one with the world. As for what it meant to be one with the world, a simple explanation was to compare the human body to a small world, using one's body to accommodate and sense all things. This was also a preparation for coming into contact with the Tao in the future. Countless elixirs were swallowed by Shao Chun. His aura at the great perfection of the Earth Mirror realm continued to rise. Because there was no longer a barrier to the next realm, Shao Chun broke through to the celestial being layer without any effort. After breaking through from the Earth Mirror realm to the celestial being layer, Shao Chun felt that his strength had once again taken a qualitative leap. A smile unconsciously appeared on his face. He slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Shao Chun laughed softly. "I've finally succeeded." Since entering the Tao Palace of the Five Elements, Shao Chun had been working hard to break through to the celestial being layer. Now that 2 months had passed, Shao Chun had finally succeeded. Thinking about it, when he was in the Eastern Sun region, the celestial being layer was already considered a powerhouse. Now, he was only in his early 20s, and he had already reached this level. Who could have imagined this in the past? Of course, with Shao Chun's current outlook, the celestial being layer was nothing. It could even be considered the beginning of the martial path. Compared to the ruler of the 9 clouds and the other true powerhouses, the celestial being layer was still just a basic realm. They only knew martial arts, but did not understand the Tao. Even so, to be able to break through to the celestial being layer at such a young age was enough to prove Shao Chun's great talent. Mu Feng and the others, who were guarding outside the cave, had looks of envy on their faces when they sensed the terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations coming from within the cave. Of course, they were not jealous of Shao Chun's breakthrough. This was because in this half a month, if Shao Chun had not shared most of the Tao intent seeds with them, they would not have been able to reach this level. Brother Chun has finally broken through. Mu Feng's gaze unconsciously looked at the entrance of the cave as he whispered to himself with a smile on his face. Since entering the Tao Palace of the Five Elements and meeting Shao Chun, Mu Feng and Shao Chun had indeed become more familiar with each other. Moreover, Mu Feng had unknowingly become more and more impressed with Shao Chun. It could be said that in Mu Feng's heart, there were 2 people in the younger generation that he admired the most. One was his cousin Mu He, and the other was Shao Chun. They had some conflicts in the city of the Medicine King. Now, Shao Chun's position in Mu Feng's heart was already second only to Mu He. Therefore, Mu Feng was sincerely happy that Shao Chun could successfully break through to the celestial being layer. Chapter 264. After successfully breaking through to the sky human stage, Shao Chun slowly walked out of the cave under the watchful eyes of Mu Feng and the others. The breakthrough in his cultivation base caused Shao Chun's temperament to become even more ethereal. That was especially true of his pair of eyes. Beneath the tranquility of an ancient well, there seemed to be an inexplicable attraction that would cause one to unconsciously fall into them. Dressed in white, He Lian, who was also a disciple of 9 Firmaments Palace, faced Shao Chun. Her face unconsciously turned red, and she dared not look at Shao Chun, putting on a bashful look. With a faint smile on his face, Shao Chun looked at the others and said with a chuckle, "Everyone, it is time to go meet the nocturnal tribe." Hearing Shao Chun's words, the others smiled and nodded. Their strength had increased greatly, especially Shao Chun. He had broken through from the great circle of the earthen realm to the entry level of the sky human stage. For Shao Chun, breaking through to such a major realm was definitely a qualitative leap. They began moving towards the nocturnal tribe. Several hours later, Shao Chun and the others arrived at the mountain range where they had first entered the ghost zone. However, Shao Chun did not expect to encounter Gudu Wuya's group in this mountain range. Like Shao Chun, Gudu Wuya had also brought along a group of 12 Sky Prides. They were all very happy to meet each other here. Regardless of whether there was any enmity between them or not, in the 5 Elemental Tao Palace, they were all companions. Seeing Xiao Chun, Guduya laughed heartily and said, "Brother Xiao Chun, I didn't think that the first person I met would be you." Then, he gave Xiao Chun a hug. As the lazy Guduya, the only ones who could make him so excited were probably the other members of the 10 Great Prides. Like Xiao Chun, Guduya had also broken through to the celestial realm after 2 months of training in the 5 Elemental Tao Palace. It seemed that Guduya had also gained a lot in the past 2 months. Moreover, the geniuses behind him were not any weaker than Mu Feng and the others. After chatting for a while, Guduya finally heard that Xiao Chun was going to destroy the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. He didn't think much about it and immediately expressed his willingness to participate. Xiao Chun naturally wouldn't refuse. With the addition of Guduya, this trip would be even more foolproof. "Brother Xiao, don't blame me for stealing your Tao 4 seed when the time comes," Guduya said with a smile as he looked at Xiao Chun. "That's hard to say. What if I snatch it from you?" Xiao Chun replied with a smile when he heard that. The two of them teased each other. At the same time, due to the meeting of the 2 Great Prides, some changes were made to the distribution of the Tao 4 seeds. It was no longer a uniform distribution like before. Instead, it was based on individual ability. Whoever killed the Tao 4 seed would get it. Now that all the Sky Prides had the strength to kill the Heavenly Ghost, especially the peerless Sky Prides, this method was feasible. In the last month, the number of seeds of Taoist will that one could obtain would depend on one's own ability. It was the same for Xiao Chun and Guduya. Whoever killed Niangue would get the seeds of Taoist will. The 2 proud kings led the group to the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. Xiao Chun was no stranger to the plain where the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe was located. In less than a day, the group arrived at the plain. As if he was reminded of the past, Xiao Chun became playful and told the group about Mu Feng's embarrassing incident in the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. When they heard that Mu Feng had rushed to the front of the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe alone and shouted, "Kneel down and call me daddy," the geniuses held their stomachs and laughed. Everyone gave Mu Feng a thumbs up. "Haha, Mu Feng, you're really good. I admire you." "Me too. You're just a primary earth mirror cultivator, yet you dare to go to the Niangue tribe with a half-step ghost king and call yourself grandpa. Haha, Mu Feng, you got guts." Everyone chimed in one after another. Even Gudu Wuya shook his head and smiled bitterly. This Mu Feng was too funny. The Nocturnal Eclipse tribe had a half-step ghost king as their leader and hundreds of heavenly ghosts. At that time, Mu Feng was just a primary earth mirror cultivator. Yet, he dared to come to the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe and call himself grandpa. Mu Feng's face turned red in the face of everyone's teasing. He immediately shouted, "What are you laughing at? I did it on purpose. You know that? I did it on purpose." While everyone was laughing, a huge Niangue tribe appeared in their line of sight. Looking at the scale of the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe, even Guduya had to admit that the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe was indeed very strong. At least, this was the largest Niangue tribe he had seen since he entered the 5 Elemental Tao Palace. Perhaps it was because he had been teased by everyone, but when he saw the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe, Mu Feng immediately rushed forward and shouted, "Bastards of the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe, your grandpa Mu is here again." Everyone almost burst out laughing when they heard Mu Feng's angry shout. The group of Niangue guards outside the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe also looked at Mu Feng in confusion. "This human?" The heavenly ghost leader asked doubtfully when he saw Mu Feng rushing over alone. "Leader, this human seems to be the guy who called himself grandpa last time." The heavenly ghost leader was still a little confused. However, an earth mirror Niangue beside him happened to be one of the Niangue who had seen Mu Feng before. He quickly recognized Mu Feng. Back then, Mu Feng had barged into the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe alone and was rescued by Xiao Chun. He even killed a heavenly ghost leader outside the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. This was not a secret in the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. Now, almost a month later, Mu Feng had appeared again. Seeing Mu Feng rushing over, the heavenly ghost leader's face darkened. "Damn human, how dare you come again? You're courting death." With a cold shout, the heavenly ghost leader did not order his subordinates to attack. He directly rushed towards Mu Feng, wanting to suppress Mu Feng as quickly as possible. He did not realize that Mu Feng was much stronger than before. Last time, Mu Feng was not a match for the Heavenly Ghost, but now Mu Feng could easily suppress the Heavenly Ghost. "Human, you're courting death," shouted Mu Feng furiously. Immediately after, the Heavenly Ghost clawed at Mu Feng. When Mu Feng saw that, he didn't dodge. Instead, he ferociously punched out. His fist was covered with a thick red light as he laughed out loud. "Grandson, do you think your Grandpa Mu is still the same as before? Die." He was full of confidence. The result of the clash was beyond the expectations of all the Nian Gui present. With a single punch, Mu Feng directly blasted the Heavenly Ghost leader's head apart. Mu Feng had killed a Heavenly Ghost with a single punch. Looking at this scene, the Nian Gui who were sneering were completely stunned. What's going on? Is this human really the guy who called himself Grandpa? Chapter 265. Mu Feng killed a Heavenly Ghost with a single punch. The psychic ghosts nearby were stunned by Mu Feng's strength. It had only been less than a month, but Mu Feng's strength had already reached such a level. Without any hesitation, Mu Feng charged at the psychic ghosts after killing the Heavenly Ghost with a single blow. The ordinary Earth Mirror psychic ghosts were completely helpless against Mu Feng. It was a one-sided slaughter. While Mu Feng was engaged in a fierce battle with the psychic ghosts, countless psychic ghosts charged out from the Night Eclipse tribe. Among them, there were more than 100 heavenly ghosts. It was said that there were thousands of psychic ghosts in the Night Eclipse tribe. As the psychic ghosts charged out, Xiao Chun, Gudu Wuya, and the others also joined in the fray. Xiao Chen's face was calm as he faced more than a dozen heavenly ghosts alone. The scarlet-edged sword in his hand seemed to be swinging casually, but a heavenly ghost was killed with every swing of the sword. After breaking through to the celestial realm, the heavenly ghosts were even more vulnerable in front of Xiao Chun. Like Xiao Chun, Guduya also displayed great strength. Killing the heavenly ghosts was as easy as chopping vegetables. "Stop those two humans. Stop them." Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya's strength quickly attracted the attention of the other heavenly ghosts. In an instant, the other heavenly ghosts of the Night Eclipse tribe surrounded Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. They all knew that among the humans, Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya were the most dangerous. Dozens of heavenly ghosts surrounded Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. Seeing this, Xiao Chun smiled. "Now, this is interesting." With that, Xiao Chun took the initiative to attack. Gudu Wuya was not to be outdone. The two of them immediately engaged in a fierce battle with dozens of heavenly ghosts. A fierce battle broke out. Although Xiao Chen's side did not have many people, there were only about 20 of them. However, after 2 months of training, all of them had improved by leaps and bounds. Not to mention Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. Even the top prodigies could easily kill Earth Mirror psychic ghosts. As a result, even though there were thousands of psychic ghosts in the Night Eclipse tribe, they were still at a disadvantage. It was especially so for Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya's battlefield. They could even kill ordinary heavenly ghosts with a slash of their swords, not to mention Earth Mirror psychic ghosts. Only the top heavenly ghosts could contend with Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya, but there were only about 10 of them in the entire Night Eclipse tribe. Damn it! How are these humans so strong? One of the sky ghosts snarled at the sight of the spirit readers retreating in defeat. In the past, when the Five Elements Palace opened, the humans from the heavenly Chen continent would also enter the Five Elements Palace. But they had never been this strong before. They were horrified. Of course, these psychic ghosts didn't know that although the number of people from the heavenly Chen continent who entered the Five Elements Palace this time was much smaller than before, only about 100 of them. But these 100-plus people were all prodigies, so their strength was naturally incomparable to before. Everyone was giving it their all. They watched as the reading ghosts fell one after another. More than 30 heavenly ghosts had been killed, including Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. Naturally, most of the heavenly ghosts died at the hands of Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. In the midst of the fierce battle, perhaps the leader of the Night Eclipse tribe sensed that they were no match for the humans, so he finally showed himself. A deafening roar resounded. Then, from the depths of the tribe, a black gas soared into the sky. Amidst the black gas, a 3-meter-tall psychic ghost with jet-black skin that resembled battle armor strode out. The aura that far exceeded that of the heavenly ghosts continued to spread. Upon seeing the appearance of this psychic ghost, everyone knew that the leader of the Night Eclipse tribe had finally appeared. It was the psychic ghost who was said to have 1 foot in the Ghost King realm. Sweeping his gaze across the crowd, Night Eclipse finally fixed his gaze on Shao Chun and Guduwuya. He shouted coldly, "Damn humans! You're courting death. Today, this king will make you beg for death." He was originally in seclusion to break through to the Ghost King realm. Who would have thought that at this critical moment, humans would attack him? Moreover, they were so strong, especially the 2 leaders. They killed the heavenly ghosts of the Night Eclipse tribe without any chance to retaliate. Seeing that the Night Eclipse tribe was about to be defeated, Night Eclipse had no choice but to come out of seclusion. This also caused him to be unable to break through to the Ghost King realm. One could imagine how strong the killing intent in his heart was. His breakthrough was forcibly ruined by this group of humans. Taking a step forward, Night Eclipse instantly appeared in front of Shao Chun and Guduwuya. Just by standing face to face, Shao Chun and Guduwuya felt a considerable amount of pressure. Although a half-step Ghost King was not a true Ghost King, it was still incomparable to a heavenly ghost. In front of Night Eclipse, even a peak heavenly ghost would be an existence that could be slapped to death with a single slap. Night Eclipse's eyes flashed with intense, killing intent. Surrounded by black gas, he stared coldly at Shao Chun and Guduwuya. Then, he shouted coldly, "Take down these humans. I want them alive." His hatred for Shao Chun and the others could no longer be described with words. Therefore, Night Eclipse wanted them to suffer a fate worse than death. He wanted them to see with their own eyes what it felt like to have their hearts dug out. Hearing Night Eclipse's words, the spirit-reading ghosts responded respectfully. Then, including the remaining dozens of heavenly ghosts, they no longer cared about Shao Chun and Guduwuya. Instead, they attacked Mu Feng and the other Sky Prides with all their might. Shao Chun and Guduwuya were dealt with by Night Eclipse. The battle broke out again. Shao Chun and the others had obviously expected this. Tightening his grip on his sword, Guduwuya said, "Half-step Ghost King. Brother Shao Chun, make your move. The seed of Tao intent belongs to whoever kills them." This was the first time he had faced a half-step Ghost King. With that, Guduwuya took the initiative to attack. Seeing this, Shao Chun also moved and chased after Guduwuya. The 2 Sky Prides were working together to deal with Night Eclipse, a half-step Ghost King. Seeing this, Night Eclipse coldly shouted, "You're courting death." Then he slapped out with his claw. Black gas rapidly condensed into a ghost claw and attacked the 2. Its power was extremely great. Facing Night Eclipse's attack, Guduwuya continuously stabbed out with his sword. A total of 8 sword lights shot out and collided with Night Eclipse's ghost claw. However, when the 2 collided, Guduwuya's 8 sword lights were shattered in less than 10 breaths. Then, the huge ghost claw attacked Guduwuya again. At the same time, Shao Chun also slashed out with his sword. Wherever his sword passed, it collided with the ghost claw again. This time, the 2 finally canceled each other out. The ghost claw and sword chi slowly dissipated. Chapter 266. Shao Chun and Guduwuya had to make 2 moves to block the Night Eater's attack. In response, Shao Chun did not hesitate to use his dragon transformation. Against the Night Eater, it was indeed difficult to contend with it without using a secret technique. Seeing that Shao Chun had used a secret technique, Guduwuya did the same. Their auras suddenly rose. At the same time, the Night Eater attacked. Immediately, 2 humans and 1 ghost engaged in a fierce battle. This was the first time that Shao Chun and Guduwuya had fought side by side. In the face of the Night Eater's attack, the 2 of them used everything they had. Shao Chun pointed his finger and used the dragon's spring sword finger. The roar of a dragon shook the sky, while Guduya slashed out a sky full of sword chi. The two of them attacked the Night Eater Ghost King from both sides. Previously, the Night Eater Ghost King did not feel that the two humans were a threat to it. However, after the two of them used their secret techniques, their strength increased greatly. For a moment, even the Night Eater Ghost King's expression changed drastically. In the previous battle, the two humans were still hiding their strength. Horrified, the Night Eater Ghost King thought to himself in disbelief. How could this be possible? They were slaughtering heavenly ghosts like dogs. How could they still hide their strength? The Night Eater Ghost King no longer dared to be careless. Shao Chun and Gudu Wuya's attacks were enough to threaten the Night Eater Ghost King's life. Even so, under the siege of Shao Chun and Gudu Wuya, the Night Eater Ghost King gradually fell into a disadvantage. The two humans in front of it were definitely the strongest humans the Night Eater Ghost King had ever encountered. Since the birth of the Night Eater Ghost King, every time the Five Elements Tao Palace opened, countless humans had died at its hands. Now, the appearance of Shao Chun and Gudu Wuya was hard for the Night Eater Ghost King to accept. Could humans be so strong? Seeing that the Night Eater Ghost King was at a disadvantage, the other Night Eater Ghost Kings were shocked. In their hearts, the Night Eater Ghost King was invincible. But now, he was being forced to retreat by two humans. For a moment, the Night Eclipse tribe's spirit-reading ghosts lost their momentum. On the other hand, Mu Feng and the rest took advantage of the situation and continued to increase their advantage. A half-step Ghost King is only SOSO, Gudu Wuya said calmly as he swung his sword. As soon as he finished, one of the Night Eater Ghost King's arms was cut off. At the same time, just as Gudu Wuya swung his sword, Shao Chun also cut off the Night Eater Ghost King's other arm. With both arms crippled, the Night Eater Ghost King turned around and fled without hesitation. The strength of the two humans in front of it was far beyond what the Night Eater Ghost King could imagine. It did not dare to continue fighting. It knew that if it did, it would be the one to die. Do you think you can escape? Brother Gudu, I'll make a move first. Seeing that the Night Eater Ghost King was about to escape, Shao Chun sneered and chased after him. Whoever killed the Night Eater Ghost King would get his seed of Tao. Shao Chun naturally would not hold back. Hearing Shao Chun's words, Gudu Wuya also chased after him without hesitation. The two of them chased after the Night Eater Ghost King. The Night Eater Ghost King was already heavily injured. Now that he was being chased by Shao Chun and Gudu Wuya, it was naturally difficult for him to escape. Before he could run far, Shao Chun caught up with him. He swung his sword and blocked the Night Eater Ghost King's escape route. At the same time, Gudu Wuya also chased after him. However, he was one step slower and had lost the initiative. He slowly pointed his finger and used the Tai Yi sword finger. A sword ray as thick as a mountain instantly engulfed the Night Eater Ghost King. At the same time, Shao Chun chuckled softly. Brother Gudu, I'll be taking the half-step Ghost King's seed of Tao. The sure-kill attack had caused the half-step Ghost King to die on the spot. As a result, the seed of Tao in his body naturally belonged to Shao Chun. Seeing the Night Eater Ghost King being engulfed by the Tai Yi sword finger, Gudu Wuya, who was one step slower, said gloomily, Brother Shao Chun, that's not very nice of you. Shao Chun naturally did not take Gudu Wuya's complaint to heart. After all, they had already agreed that whoever killed the Night Eater Ghost King would get his seed of Tao. Now that the Night Eater Ghost King had died at the hands of Shao Chun, his seed of Tao naturally belonged to Shao Chun. The sword ray slowly dissipated. As for the Night Eater Ghost King, it had already been reduced to ashes by the terrifying power of the Tai Yi sword finger. Only 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao were left floating in the air. There were 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao in his body. It was common knowledge that Tao seeds could only be found in the bodies of ghost chasers who had reached the Earth Mirror level. Moreover, ghost chasers at the Earth Mirror level were only a possibility, not 100%. After reaching the Heavenly Ghost level, Although there was a 100% guarantee that there would be a Tao seed in one's body, it was only one seed. A set of 5 elemental seed of Tao was made up of 5 seeds of different attributes. It was very difficult to gather all of them. After all, Tao seeds with overlapping attributes would often appear. Now, after killing the Night Eater Ghost King, Shao Chun had obtained 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao. What kind of concept was this? One must know that even after destroying a ghost chaser tribe like the Keqing tribe, Shao Chun was unable to gather 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao. Looking at the 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao, even Guduya was envious. Is this the legendary lucky bastard? Just by killing the Night Eater Ghost King alone, Shao Chun had obtained 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao. Without any hesitation, Shao Chun put the 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao into his storage ring with a wave of his hand. This trip was already worth it. Next, after dealing with the Night Eater Ghost King, Shao Chun and Guduya joined the battle against Mu Feng and the others. The Night Eater Ghost Chasers were already retreating. With the addition of Shao Chun and Guduya, the Ghost Chasers of the Night Eater tribe were quickly defeated. Even their leader, the half-step Ghost King Night Eater, had been killed by Shao Chun. The remaining Ghost Chasers of the Night Eater tribe were naturally unable to cause any trouble. They were quickly wiped out one by one. After the battle, although many of them were injured, it was not difficult to guess from the smile on everyone's face that they had gained a lot from the battle. The harvest from destroying a Night Eater tribe was definitely comparable to destroying dozens of small Ghost Chaser tribes. There was no doubt about that. If one were to ask who had gained the most from this battle, it was undoubtedly Shao Chun. Just the 20 sets of 5 elemental seed of Tao from killing the Night Eater Ghost King was enough to make everyone envious. Moreover, this was without counting the heavenly ghosts and ordinary ghost chasers that Shao Chun had killed. Chapter 267. After killing the Night Eater Ghost King and annihilating the Night Eater tribe, everyone was excitedly counting their gains. This battle could be said to be a complete victory. Although some of them were seriously injured, fortunately, no one died. With the Night Eater tribe as their base, everyone chose to rest for a while. After all, this battle had ended and many of them were injured. With the current situation, it was naturally not suitable for them to continue hunting ghost-reading ghosts. After a day of rest, everyone's injuries were almost completely healed. At the same time, Guduya suggested that everyone move towards the core area. As the name implied, the core area was the central location of the 5 Elements Tao Palace. All the powerful ghost-reading tribes were basically gathered in the core area. For example, the 5 great ghost kings of the 5 Elements Tao Palace were existences that had truly stepped into the Ghost King realm. They were far from what a half-baked ghost king, like the Night Eater Ghost King, could compare to. Moreover, the ghost-reading tribe that was founded by the 5 great ghost kings was many times larger than the Night Eater tribe. If they could annihilate the Ghost King tribe, they would really hit the jackpot. Of course, in the core area, other than the 5 great Ghost King tribes, there were also many half-step Ghost King tribes like the Night Eater tribe. Annihilating them would also net them a small fortune. Moreover, it had been more than 2 months since they entered the 5 Elements Tao Palace. It was likely that the other primordial kings had also begun to move towards the core area. In the face of Guduya's suggestion, Shao Chun did not reject it. With everyone's current strength, an ordinary ghost-reading tribe was no longer attractive. Attacking an ordinary ghost-reading tribe would not only take a lot of time and effort, but they would also obtain very few Tao seeds. Only a ghost-reading tribe like the Night Eater tribe could attract everyone. If they wanted to find another ghost-reading tribe like the Night Eater tribe, it was indeed possible to go to the core area. After agreeing to Guduya's suggestion, everyone began to rush towards the core area. The entire 5 Elemental Tao Palace wasn't too big, so it didn't take them long to reach the core area. Once they entered the core area, they had to admit that they were very lucky. They quickly found a Ghost Whisper tribe that was comparable to the Night Eater tribe. It was about the same size as the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe. It also had a half-step ghost king and hundreds of heavenly ghosts. Although they did not know the tribe's name, it did not matter. With Xiao Qin's order, they launched an attack on the Yanghui tribe. They already had experience fighting the Nocturnal Eclipse tribe, so this time, everyone was more comfortable. Xiao Chun and Guduya also joined forces to attack the leader of this tribe, the half-step Ghost King. Without wasting any time, they immediately used their secret techniques to end the battle quickly. This time, Guduya had clearly learned his lesson. After joining forces with Xiao Chun to seriously injure the half-step Ghost King, Guduya didn't stop. He immediately unleashed his killer move and killed the half-step Ghost King with a single slash. Guduya also obtained 20 sets of 5 elemental Dao seeds. He unceremoniously put them into his storage ring and laughed. Brother Xiao Chun, I won't hold back this time. Hearing Guduya's words, Xiao Chun smiled slightly. Obviously, he didn't take it to heart. Since they had already arrived at the core area, there were already many half-step Ghost Kings. Therefore, Xiao Chun didn't care at all. Moreover, the Dao seeds could at most allow one to break through to the celestial being realm's full circle. Beyond that, the Dao seeds would be useless. It would be a waste to have more. After a fierce battle, the group successfully destroyed this tribe. After destroying 2 tribes of half-step Ghost Kings in succession, everyone's harvest was quite bountiful. Xiao Chun and Guduya were even prepared to break through to the celestial being realm's minor completion in one go. The 2 of them each killed a half-step Ghost King, and each obtained 20 sets of 5 elemental Dao seeds. In addition to the heavenly ghosts they killed, Xiao Chun and Guduya both collected 25 sets of 5 elemental Dao seeds. This was enough for them to break through to the celestial being realm's minor completion. They immediately began to break through in this tribe. With the help of the Dao seeds, the 2 of them successfully stepped into the celestial being realm's minor completion. It had only been a few days since they stepped into the celestial being realm, and the 2 of them had already broken through to the celestial being realm's minor completion. This speed of improvement could only be achieved in the 5 elemental palace. It was obviously impossible to achieve this in other places. After Xiao Chun and Guduya's cultivation had broken through, a prodigy hurriedly greeted the 2 of them. He said that there was a battle about 100 miles away from the group. It seemed that humans and spirit-reading ghosts had encountered each other. After hearing this news, Xiao Chun pondered for a moment before quickly making a decision. He looked at Guduya and said in a deep voice, "Brother Gudu." Knowing what Xiao Chun meant, Guduya nodded slightly. Since they had encountered other people, they naturally had to lend a helping hand. After making a decision, the group rushed towards the direction of the battlefield. Just as Xiao Chun and the rest rushed over, there was indeed a group of humans fighting spirit-reading ghosts at the place where the battle had broken out. There were a total of 18 people, and the 2 people leading them were Snow Fairy Ouyang Roshue and Bloodwood Prodigy Wang Mu. The 2 of them had joined forces, and there were 18 prodigies following them. However, even so, Ouyang Roshue and Mu's situation was extremely critical. This was because the spirit-reading tribe they had encountered was not a half-step Ghost King tribe, but a Ghost King tribe. At this moment, there was really a Ghost King fighting with the 2 of them. A Ghost King was comparable to a human Dao querying realm expert. It was said to be the limit of the 5 elemental Dao palace. There were only 5 Ghost Kings in the entire 5 elemental Dao palace. Unlike half-step Ghost Kings were extremely powerful. At the same time, their appearance seemed to have been completely degraded. They were no longer as ugly as the spirit-reading ghosts. On the contrary, they were closer to humans. However, the Ghost King's bodies were constantly covered in a layer of black fog, like armor. At this moment, the Ghost King fighting Ouyang Roshue and Mu was called Ghost King Ba Tuesday. He had chased Ouyang Roshue and the rest all the way here and finally surrounded them. He threw out a punch. In the face of Ghost King Ba Tu's attack, although Ouyang Roshue and Mu tried their best to resist, they were still sent flying by the punch. In the face of a ghost king, the strength of two king prides was indeed insufficient. Laughing heartily, Ghost King Batu's eyes were overflowing with killing intent as he said, "Humans, the two of you are quite strong. This king has been in the Five Elements Tao Palace for over 100 years, but I have never met humans as strong as the two of you. I believe your hearts must be quite tasty." Chapter 268. Batu had lived in the Five Tao Palace for more than 100 years, but he had never met a human with such powerful combat strength. The humans who had entered the Five Tao Palace before were all easily killed by him. However, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He had fought with him for more than 100 moves, and they were still able to hold on. The strength of the two kings of pride had exceeded the Batu Phantom King's strength. However, this had also piqued the Batu Phantom King's interest. If he could devour the hearts of such powerful humans, he might be able to obtain some unexpected benefits. Hearing Batu's words, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He looked at each other and then looked at the other battles. It could be said that the current situation was completely hopeless. The Batu Ghost King's strength was beyond Ouyang Roshue and Ouyang Roshue's imagination. Two King of Prides were obviously not enough to deal with him, let alone kill him. As for the other geniuses, they were constantly retreating under the encirclement of the Batu tribes, heavenly ghosts, and countless spirit-reading ghosts. Two of them had already been killed, and the rest were all heavily injured. They wanted to retreat, but it was impossible now. A look of determination flashed across their eyes. There was no way to retreat, so they could only fight to the death. They looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He attacked Batu at the same time, both of them raising their strength to the maximum. Facing Ouyang Roshue and Mu He's attacks, Batu revealed a cold smile. "With your strength, even a half-step Ghost King would have to suffer if he encountered you. Unfortunately, you have encountered me, so you too won't have chance." As he spoke, a dense black gas rapidly spread out from Batu's body. This black gas was like a dark cloud covering the sky and the sun. It quickly enveloped Ouyang Roshue and Mu He. "Human die." With a cold shout, Batu clenched his right hand. The black gas surrounding the two of them quickly transformed into ghost claws and attacked the two of them with lightning speed. Tens of thousands of ghost claws formed from black chi, and the power of each ghost claw was not weaker than the full force attack of a top heavenly ghost. This was the strength of a Ghost King. He no longer relied on his physical body to fight, but could also use some magical abilities similar to martial techniques. In the face of thousands of ghost claws, Ouyang Ro and Xuemu used their sharpness to resist. However, because there were too many ghost claws, in the end, the two of them were still heavily injured. Seeing that his attack had not killed Ouyang Roshue and her companion, Batu let out a soft cry of surprise. He was very clear about the lethality of his attack. No human had ever survived this attack, but Ouyang Roshue and her companion had done it. Looking at the two of them, although they were injured, it was obvious that they still had the strength to fight. His interest in the two of them grew. At the same time, his desire for their hearts grew even stronger. The hearts of such powerful humans were definitely different from the hearts of ordinary people. Without saying anything, Batu took a step forward and charged directly at Ouyang Roshue and Mu He. No matter what, he could not let these two humans escape today. He did not know how long it had been since Batu had been so eager to obtain the hearts of humans. He attacked with all his strength, wanting to kill Ouyang Roshue and her companion in the shortest time possible. Facing Batu's attack, Ouyang Roshue and her companions' faces darkened. A feeling of despair shrouded their hearts. They knew that they were no match for Batu, but they still did not choose to give up. After a fierce battle, it was clear that there was indeed a gap in strength. From the beginning, Ouyang Roshue and her companion were suppressed by Batu's day. After dozens of moves, Batu broke through their defense with a punch. Then, his hands turned into claws and fiercely clawed at their hearts. They could not dodge. There was no way they could dodge Batu's claw. If they were hit by this claw, the result was obvious. Their stomachs would probably be ripped open. A sliver of despair flashed through their eyes. They had never thought that they would one day die in the 5-elemental Tao Palace. Just as the two of them were on the brink of despair, two strands of sword chi whistled over from afar. They viciously slashed at Batu's hand with great might. A cut appeared on his palm, and blood flowed out from the wound. The moment the two sword chi appeared, two black figures took advantage of Batu's pause and flashed over. They grabbed Ouyang Roshue and Muhi by their waists and quickly retreated, pulling away from Batu's day. You finally made it. I say, Muhi, aren't you a little too miserable? You almost lost your head. The newcomers were naturally Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya. They carried Muhi and retreated 100 meters before stopping. Gudu Wuya said with a smile. Muhi immediately heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Gudu Wuya's words. At the same time, Xiao Chun carried Ouyang Roshue by her waist and retreated to Gudu Wuya and Muhi's side. Ouyang Roshue's face was slightly red when she was carried by Xiao Chun. However, a look of relief flashed across her eyes. Fortunately, Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya had arrived in time. Otherwise, she and Muhi would have been in deep trouble today. Mufeng let go of Ouyang Roshue. Then, on the battlefield of the prodigies, Mufeng rushed over with more than 20 prodigies. With the addition of more than 20 prodigies, in addition to the prodigies who had followed Ouyang Roshue and Muhi, the prodigies from the Batu tribe were caught off guard. Moreover, with the support of Mufeng and the rest, the prodigies who had been on the verge of despair saw hope again. They immediately fought with all their might. The battle between the Sky Prides and Ningguei had stabilized for the time being. Meanwhile, Xiao Chun looked at Ghost King Batu and said with a smile, "Since the two Sky Prides are no match for you, I wonder what about the 4 Sky Prides?" He could tell at a glance that Batu was a true Ghost King. Ouyang Roshue and Muhi, the two prodigies, were no match for him even when they joined forces. However, there were now 4 prodigies working together. Gudu Wuya smiled when he heard Xiao Chen's words. Let's make things clear first. The Tao Force seed belongs to whoever kills him. You can't go back on your word when the time comes. I don't want a Tao Force seed anymore. I must skin this evil creature alive today. Muhi replied coldly when he heard Gudu Wuya's words. It was obvious that Muhi had been suppressing his anger all this while. Now that Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya had arrived, Muhi had no other thoughts other than to take revenge and kill Batu's day. I don't want it either. After Muhi finished speaking, Ouyang Roshue also expressed that she did not want Batu's Tao seed. However, the killing intent in her eyes showed that she had the same idea as Muhi. Today, she must kill this beast to vent the anger in her heart. Chapter 269. Ouyang Roshue and Muhi both expressed that they did not want Batu's Tao seed. Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya both smiled at this. It was easy to imagine how furious the two of them were. As one of the 10 prides, which one of them was not proud and arrogant. Now that they had been beaten up by a thought ghost and almost lost their lives, one could imagine the murderous intent in Ouyang Roshue and Muhi's heart. Then let's do it. Kill this evil creature. Xiao Chun said indifferently, as the Scarlet Edge sword emitted a sword cry. After saying that, Xiao Chun immediately used the dragon transformation. At the same time, Gudu Wuya and the other two also used their own secret techniques. Their auras rose to the maximum. Then, their feet moved at the same time, attacking Ghost King Batu's day. 2 more proud kings had appeared. Ghost King Batu snorted coldly and said, "Humph. No matter how many ants there are still ants. Die for me." The 4 of them fought Ghost King Batu and punched out. Facing Ghost King Batu's punch, Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya slashed out with their swords at the same time. They both used Earth-level martial skills. 2 sword radiances shot out rapidly and collided with Ghost King Batu's punch. With the combined power of Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya, Ghost King Batu's punch was successfully blocked. Ghost King Batu was shocked. The strength of these two humans was slightly stronger than Ouyang Roshue and Muhi. It should be known that Ouyang Roshue and Muhi could not block his attack, but Shao Chun and Guduya had done it. Among the 10 proud kings, although no one said it clearly, Shao Chun and Guduya were obviously in the top 2. From the moment they appeared, they had displayed superior combat strength. Then, Shao Chun had defeated Li Huo proud king Fenglingye. He had used the most direct method to prove to the other proud kings that his strength was at the top of the 10 proud kings. After perfectly blocking Ghost King Batu's punch, Ouyang Roshue and Mu, he seized the opportunity and rushed towards Ghost King Batu from the left and right. Ouyang Roshue held a long sword and slashed out. Icy cold spiritual energy instantly turned into an ice blade. Mui held a long staff in his hand. As he swung his staff, blood chi filled the air. The two attacked at the same time, one from the left and the other from the right. While Shao Chun and Guduya were in front of him, there was no room. There was no room to escape. Ghost King Batu could only choose to take the attack. The ice blade successfully cut open a deep wound on Batu Ghost King's body, and Muhi's blood staff directly shattered one of Batu Ghost King's ribs. And Muhi, and successfully forced Muhi, an attack. Because he knew that Shao Chun and Muhi were a bigger threat than Ouyang Roshue and Muhi. Therefore, Ghost King Batu wanted to defeat Shao Chun and Muhi first. That way, he would be in an invincible position. Black aura filled the air, shrouding Shao Chun and Yi Fuqian in an instant. Countless ghostly claws lashed out at Shao Chun and Yi Fuqian. In response, Shao Chun performed the Chun Jun sword finger. Streaks of golden sword aura clashed with the ghostly claws, perfectly blocking the ghostly claws that were coming at him. On the other side, Guduya faced the ghost claws and continuously swung his long sword. Rays of sword light flashed and perfectly blocked the ghost claws. The black gas ghost claws that were originally able to injure Ouyang Roshue and Mu, were all blocked by Shao Chun and Guduya. From this, it could be seen that Shao Chun and Mu were indeed stronger than Ouyang Roshue and Muhi. Seeing that his attacks were all blocked, Ghost King Batu's face darkened. How could this be? The two humans blocked his black gas ghost claws and were not injured at all. A sense of danger arose in his heart. Facing two King of Prides, Ghost King Batu had an absolute advantage. However, facing 4 King of Prides, reality proved that Ghost King Batu was no match for them. The battle strength of each King of Prides was incomparably terrifying. With 4 King of Prides working together, not to mention a Ghost King, even a Dao-querying realm powerhouse will be able to fight or even kill him. His original confidence quickly disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. Just as Shao Chun and Muhi blocked Ghost King Batu's attack, Ouyang Roshue and Muhi attacked again. At the same time, Shao Chun and Guduya attacked as well. The 4 King of Prides attacked at the same time. Seeing this, Ghost King Batu did not dare to resist and immediately chose to retreat. He was no longer as confident as he had been before. The threat of the 4 proud kings joining forces was too great. Even if he were a Ghost King, there was no way he could take on the combined attack of 4 proud kings head-on. This was especially true when Shao Chun and the other 3 had all broken through to the celestial realm. Their strength could be said to have increased by leaps and bounds. Seeing Ghost King Batu rapidly retreating, Muhi coldly shouted, "Die, evil creature." As he spoke, Muhi used his final killing move. At the same time, Ouyang Roshue, Guduya, and Shao Chun also used their special skills. In an instant, 4 terrifying attacks enveloped Ghost King Batu, leaving him with no way to escape. Facing the killing moves of the 4 King of Prides, Ghost King Batu's expression changed greatly. An extreme aura of death enveloped his heart, and he unconsciously shouted, "No!" With a loud bang, the killing moves of the 4 King of Prides hit Ghost King Batu at the same time. The powerful force was so strong that even Ghost King Ba Tu could not resist. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, Ghost King Ba Tu fell. With the combined strength of 4 proud kings, they finally managed to kill a Ghost King. As the terrifying energy waves slowly dissipated, everyone saw that there were a total of 40 sets of 5 elemental Tao 4 seeds floating in the air above Ghost King Ba Tu's corpse. It was double the number of 5 elemental Tao seeds. Seeing the 40 sets of 5 elemental Tao seeds, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He's eyes flashed with joy. However, the two of them consciously did not step forward. After all, they had already said that they did not want Ghost King Ba Tu's Tao seeds. It was a small repayment to Xiao Chun and Gudawuya. Brother Xiao Chun, who killed Ghost King Ba Tu, looking at the 40 sets of 5 elemental Tao seeds, Gudawuya said somewhat gloomily. The attack that killed Ghost King Ba Tu earlier had combined the power of the 4 of them. In other words, the 4 of them had killed Ghost King Ba Tu together. Hearing Gudawuya's words, Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Let's split it evenly. After all, everyone killed him together." Splitting it evenly, and even including Ouyang Roshue and Mu He, meant that each of them would get 10 sets of 5 elemental Tao seeds. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Gudawuya did not have any objections. However, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He did not agree. After all, they had already agreed. However, Xiao Chun did not care about the two of them at all. He directly handed the 10 sets of 5 elemental Tao seeds that belonged to them and said with a chuckle, "If you miss this opportunity, you won't have this opportunity again. Moreover, how can the debt between me and Brother Gudu be repaid with just 10 sets of 5 elemental Tao seeds?" Chapter 270. They didn't care about these mere 20 sets of 5 elemental Tao 4 seeds because of Xiao Chen's strength. It was precisely because of his strength that the Tao 4 seeds weren't considered precious to Xiao Chun. Since everyone had worked together to kill them, they naturally had to split the spoils equally. Upon hearing Xiao Chen's words, Gudawuya also spoke up. "Brother Xiao is right. How can the debt of gratitude between me and Brother Xiao be repaid with just 20 sets of 5 elemental Tao 4 seeds? The two of you are dreaming." Ouyang Roshue and Mu He weren't coy people when they heard Xiao Chun and Gudawuya's words. They immediately accepted the spoils of war that belonged to them. However, the two of them solemnly said to Xiao Chun and Gudawuya, "Brother Xiao, Brother Gudu, I can't thank you enough. If you need my help in the future, just let me know." If it weren't for Xiao Chun and Gudawuya's timely arrival, Ouyang Roshue and Mu He wouldn't have been able to escape this calamity. This was a life-saving debt. Although everyone competed with each other on a daily basis, this debt of gratitude would naturally be engraved in their hearts. Xiao Chun smiled faintly when he heard Ouyang Roshue and Mu He's words. Now that Ba Tu Ghost King was dead, Xiao Chun and the other 3 King of Prides had joined the battle. With the help of the 4 King of Prides, the outcome was obvious. The heavenly ghosts were no match for Xiao Chun and the others and were quickly slaughtered. There were nearly 200 heavenly ghosts in the Ba Tu tribe. The Earth Mirror Spirit reading ghosts were even more numerous. There were probably more than 10,000 of them. With so many spirit reading ghosts, everyone reaped a bountiful harvest after the battle. Of course, other than this bountiful harvest, the unlucky geniuses who died in this battle weren't so lucky. They could only turn into a pile of yellow soil and be buried in a foreign land. The path of martial arts was like this. When faced with a peerless opportunity, it was often accompanied by danger. If you could endure it, you would be able to walk further on the path of martial arts. If you couldn't, you would naturally be eliminated. Take the 5 elemental Tao Palace, for example. Under the protection of the 10 King of Prides, the number of casualties among the geniuses was extremely small. However, there were still some geniuses who died in the 5 elemental Tao Palace due to various reasons. They belonged to those who were eliminated, and their path of martial arts could only stop here. Two of the top geniuses who died in this battle were buried. One of them was a disciple of Nine Firmaments Palace. Looking at the two corpses, Xiao Chun felt a little emotional. However, that was all. It wasn't that Xiao Chun was cold-blooded. As a king of prides, Xiao Chun believed that he wasn't the only one. The other kings of prides, such as Guduya, Ouyang Rushua, Mu He, and the others, had all done their best to ensure everyone's safety. However, there were no absolutes in this world. Even with the protection of the king of prides, one could only rely on oneself on the path of martial arts. No one could guarantee the outcome. Take Xiao Chun and the others, for example. Although they had the protection of the sovereigns in the heavenly Chun continent, who could guarantee their safety. Moreover, if one wanted to truly step onto the pinnacle of martial arts, how could one continue to grow under the protection of others? One's future achievements would ultimately depend on oneself. The protection of an expert was just icing on the cake. It couldn't determine one's future achievements. On the contrary, relying too much on the protection of an expert would only harm oneself. After burying the two geniuses, everyone found a safe place to recuperate. The four King of Prides had already joined forces. Following that, Xiao Chun and the others led a large group of people and began to madly sweep through the core area. Tribes with half-step ghost kings were destroyed one after another. As the days passed, Xiao Chun and the others obtained more and more Dao intent seeds. At the same time, their cultivation bases also grew higher. In the 5-elemental Dao Palace, everyone didn't have to think about other problems. Their only goal was to quickly break through their cultivation base. This was because once they left the 5-elemental Dao Palace, it would be impossible to break through so quickly. Therefore, everyone cherished this opportunity very much. While Xiao Chun and the others were madly hunting thought ghosts, another group of people was doing the same. Furthermore, this group had more people than Xiao Chun and the others. There were a total of 6 King of Prides gathered together. In other words, the 4 King of Prides and the other geniuses were currently divided into 2 groups. One group was led by Xiao Chun, Ouyang Rushua, Mu He, and Guduya. The other group was led by Huangfu Ao, Fenglingya, Lanxia Ao, Gumu, Huanggu, and Lin Na. Huangfu Ao's group had arrived at the core area long ago, but they had entered from a different direction. During this period of time, they had also been madly hunting thought ghosts. Now, under the lead of Huangfu Ao and the other 5 King of Prides, this group had actually taken the initiative to attack a tribe of ghost kings. Although the process was rather difficult and dangerous for the 6 King of Prides, in the end, the ghost king of the tribe was slain as well. As a result, 2 of the 5 ghost kings of the 5-elemental Dao Palace had fallen. After successfully annihilating the ghost king tribe, the 2 teams had already entered the center of the core area, and here, everyone finally met. On this day, Xiao Chun and the others destroyed a tribe of half-step ghost kings as usual. Right after the battle ended, a group of several dozen people rushed over from nearby. From afar, Xiao Chun saw Huangfu Ao and the other 5 leading the group. Brother Xiao, Brother Gudu, Brother Mu, Miss Ouyang, it looks like the 10 King of Prides have finally gathered. Huangfu Ao smiled as he arrived before Xiao Chun's group. The 10 King of Prides and the group of Heaven's Prides that had entered the 5-elemental Dao Palace had finally gathered. After a brief exchange of greetings, the strength of the 10 King of Prides had increased significantly after 2 months of training in the 5-elemental Dao Palace. All of them had reached the lesser perfection of the Sky Realm. It wasn't just the 10 proud kings. The other Sky Prides had also improved tremendously. For example, Mu Feng and the other peerless Sky Prides had already broken through to the early stage of the Heaven Realm. As for the top-notch Sky Prides, most of them had also reached the great circle of the Earth Realm. Such an increase was definitely the greatest in the history of the 5-elemental Dao Palace. Of course, it was also related to everyone's strength. Everyone knew that the current heavenly Qin continent was in a golden age that was hard to come by in 10,000 years. There were many heaven's prides and monstrous monsters running rampant. This also led to the people who had entered the five elemental Tao palace this time to be all heaven's prides. Everyone's strength was much stronger than those who had entered the five elemental Tao palace in the past. Not to mention, there were also the 10 king of prides, such as Shao Chun, leading the group. It was precisely because of their strength that far surpassed the previous years that they could be said to have swept through the five elements Tao Palace and obtained dozens of times more Tao Insight Seeds than the previous years. With the support of such a large number of Tao Insight Seeds, everyone's improvement was naturally exaggerated. Chapter 271. All the monarchs who entered the five elemental Tao palace finally gathered in one place. Moreover, everyone's strength had greatly increased, so they were naturally ecstatic. On the same day, they gathered in this half-step Ghost King's tribe and drank to their heart's content. It was a rare occasion. In the history of the five elemental Tao palace, there had never been a time when humans could sweep through the entire five elemental Tao palace. But this time, under the leadership of Shao Chun and the others, the humans did it. Everywhere they went, the ghost-reading tribes were destroyed. The 10 great geniuses sat together in a circle, and after they finished drinking their cups, Huangfu Ao laughed in a clear voice. Haha, how refreshing. Everyone, let's set out together tomorrow and annihilate the remaining 3 Ghost King tribes, as well as those fishes that escaped the net. 2 of the 5 ghostly monarchs had already been killed by the 10 geniuses, so only 3 remained. No one objected to Huangfu Ao's words. As long as the 3 ghostly monarchs' tribes were annihilated, their trip to the 5 elemental Tao palace would be considered complete. Just as everyone was preparing to attack the 3 ghostly monarch tribes, the remaining 3 ghostly monarchs of the 5 elemental Tao palace had gathered in one of the ghostly monarch tribes called Chongshan. The 3 ghost kings sat together in a huge wooden house that resembled a palace. The one in the middle was naturally the host, Chongshan Ghost King. On his left was 100 Trees Ghost King, and on his right was Rock Ghost King. The remaining 3 ghost kings gathered together. At this moment, their expressions didn't look too good. They seemed to be a bit gloomy. Chongshan Ghost King looked at 100 Trees Ghost King and Rock Ghost King and said in a deep voice, "The humans who entered the 5 elemental Tao palace this time far exceeded our expectations. Even Batu's group has been killed. The overall strength of the humans this time is unprecedented, so I think we should work together. Otherwise, we'll be defeated one by the humans." They already knew that Batu's group had been killed by the humans. These were 2 ghost kings, existences on par with them, but now they were killed by the humans. Ever since the opening of the 5 elemental Tao palace, they had never heard of a human killing a ghost king. After all, a ghost king was equivalent to a human Tao querying expert. The humans who entered the 5 elemental Tao palace never exceeded the celestial realm. Moreover, humans couldn't break through to the Tao querying realm in the 5 elemental Tao palace. It was precisely because of the absolute suppression of realms that no human had ever killed a ghost king. This meant that one had to surpass a realm in order to kill a ghost king. Even peerless geniuses couldn't do such a thing. This time, it was also because of the existence of the 10 great geniuses. Moreover, they had to work together to kill a ghost king. However, this was still shocking enough. Hearing Chongshan Ghost King's words, 100 Trees Ghost King and Rock Ghost King pondered for a moment and agreed without much hesitation. In fact, they didn't have any other choice. If they didn't work together, they would die without a doubt. Since the humans had the strength to kill a ghost king, how could they let them go? Therefore, they had to work together. The 3 ghost kings who had been in the 5 elemental Tao palace for hundreds of years were forced to work together to fight against the humans. This made the 3 ghost kings who had been in the 5 elemental Tao palace for hundreds of years extremely depressed. At the same time, they were also very confused. How could the humans who entered the 5 elemental Tao palace this time be so powerful? They were on a completely different level from the previous humans. After choosing to work together, Chongshan Ghost King said seriously, "If that's the case, then the two of you should immediately gather all the experts in your tribes. With the combined strength of our three tribes, I don't believe that we can't stop these damned humans." Chongshan Ghost King no longer thought about killing humans. Now, he only had one thought, and that was to survive the last few days. He knew that the humans of the heavenly Chun continent couldn't stay in the 5 elemental Dao Palace for long. Once the 3 months were up, they would be forcefully sent out. Therefore, as long as the 3 tribes could survive the last few days, the humans would leave on their own. The situation had taken a 360-degree turn. As a Ghost King tribe, every time the 5 elemental Dao Palace opened, they would play the role of hunters. That was because the humans before didn't have the strength to resist the Ghost King tribe. Faced with the Ghost King tribe's pursuit, they could only flee. But this time, the situation had been completely reversed. The Ghost King tribe, who had been playing the role of the hunter, had become the prey this time. And the humans, who had always been playing the role of the prey, had become the hunter this time. This made the 3 Ghost King tribes tremble in fear. They no longer dared to think about killing humans. They only hoped that the 3 months would come quickly so that they could send this group of abnormally strong humans out. With heavy expressions, the 3 Ghost Kings clearly didn't expect that when they decided to form an alliance, Shao Chun and the other 10 prides also decided to attack the 3 tribes. Now that the large ghost reading tribes in the 5 elemental Dao Palace had been wiped out by the humans, only the 3 Ghost King tribes were left. How could Shao Chun and the others let these 3 fat pigs go? According to the agreement, the 100 Trees Ghost King and the Rock Ghost King moved all the ghost reading tribes to the Chongshan tribe. In a short time, the number of ghost reading tribes in the Chongshan tribe had reached tens of thousands. Among them, the number of ghost reading tribes under the Earth Mirror realm was the highest, reaching tens of thousands. There were also more than 500 heavenly ghosts. Behind them were the 3 Ghost Kings. With such a force gathered together, it could definitely be said to be the strongest force in the history of the 5 elemental Dao Palace. If it was any other time the 5 elemental Dao Palace opened, this force would be enough to sweep through all the humans. However, even with such a powerful force gathered together, the 3 Ghost Kings still felt uncertain. There was nothing they could do about it. The humans this time were already ridiculously strong. The next day after the 3 Ghost Kings formed an alliance, Shao Chun and the others also received the news. One of the geniuses who went out to investigate the situation learned that the 3 Ghost Kings had formed an alliance. He immediately told Shao Chun and the others the news. "Fellow prides, this is how it is. The 3 Ghost King tribes have completely formed an alliance." The Heavens Pride respectfully reported to the 10 prides before him. Chapter 272. After learning about the alliance of the 3 Ghost King tribes from the Sky Pride, the Burning Spear Pride, King Huangfu Ao, spoke first. "Alliance? Let's wipe them out in one go." Huangfu Ao wasn't too concerned about the alliance of the 3 Ghost King tribes. Instead, he thought it was a good thing that they could wipe them out in one go. Hearing Huangfu Ao's words, Ouyang Roshua said plainly, 3 Ghost Kings, a few hundred heavenly ghosts, and countless mind ghosts below the Earth Mirror? Wipe them out in one go. Be careful that we don't get wiped out in one go." The combined strength of the 3 Ghost King tribes was indeed not to be underestimated. Even though everyone's strength had improved tremendously, there were still too few of them. There were only a little over 100 of them in total. There was still a huge gap between 100 people and tens of thousands of spirit-reading ghosts, with 3 spirit lords among them. Putting everything else aside, just the 3 spirit lords alone would require Shao Chun and the rest of the group to work together to kill them. Once Shao Chun and the rest went to deal with the 3 Ghost Kings, the remaining hundreds of heavenly ghosts and tens of thousands of mind ghosts would need the Sky Prides to deal with. Against such a large number of mind ghosts and heavenly ghosts, it was unknown how long the sky prides could last. Just as Ouyang Roshua finished speaking, the divine sound pride king Gumu nodded in agreement. Fairy Shui is right. There are too many of them. If we fight them head-on, we won't be in too much danger. However, it's hard to say for the rest. Once we're surrounded, it's possible that we'll all be wiped out. If they fought the 3 Ghost King tribes head-on, the 10 Sky Prides were confident that they could survive. Even if they couldn't win, they could still escape. However, what about the Sky Prides? They weren't like Xiao Chun and the rest. Once they were surrounded, it would be difficult for them to escape. Furthermore, if they really had to retreat, Xiao Chun and the rest could only bring a limited number of people with them. Hence, a head-on fight was unlikely. The most important question now is how long the Sky Prides below can last, and whether we can successfully kill the 3 Ghost Kings within this period of time. As long as we can kill the 3 Ghost Kings within this period of time, we can go back to support the Sky Prides below. We may not lose this battle. After hearing Gumu's words, Gudu Wuya spoke. Brother Gudu, we understand what you're saying. However, based on the current situation, the Sky Prides below will be defeated before we kill the 3 Ghost Kings. There are too many mind ghosts. After Gudu Wuya finished speaking, the Thunder Pride Wang Lan said arrogantly. The most important question now was how long the Sky Prides below could last, and whether this period of time was enough for Xiao Chun and the other 10 Sky Prides to kill the 3 Ghost Kings. As long as the Sky Prides could last long enough, Xiao Chun and the rest would have enough time to kill the 3 Ghost Kings. Then they could still fight. Otherwise, before Xiao Chun and the rest could kill the 3 Ghost Kings, the Sky Prides below would all be dead. This was where the problem lay. However, based on the current situation, the Sky Prides could at most last for 15 minutes against so many mind ghosts and sky ghosts. 15 minutes was clearly not enough time for Xiao Chun and the rest to kill the 3 Ghost Kings. One had to know that Ghost Kings weren't that easy to kill. Moreover, they had to face 3 of them at the same time. If they were going to fight this battle, they had to think of a way to make the Sky Prides last longer. Only then would they have a chance of winning. Everyone pointed out the crux of this battle. However, the Sky Prides were once again in a dilemma as to how to make the Sky Prides last longer. No matter how much they thought about it, they still couldn't come up with a good idea. In the end, Xiao Chun spoke up. Actually, it's not like there's no way. Xiao Chun said slowly. Everyone looked at Xiao Chun when they heard that. Huangfu Ao even urged, Brother Xiao, do you have a way? Hurry up and tell us. Xiao Chun had a way to make the Sky Prides last longer. Everyone looked at Xiao Chun expectantly when they heard that, waiting for him to continue. Xiao Chun said calmly in the face of everyone's gazes. Actually, the only way to make the Sky Prides last longer is to increase their battle prowess. However, the only way to increase a person's battle prowess in a short period of time is through pills and talismans. Pills and talismans? Everyone quickly reacted when they heard Xiao Chun's words. Xiao Chun smiled and said, the method is simple. Can Fairy Shui refine a pill that can increase battle prowess in a short period of time? There are some side effects, so long as it doesn't damage one's foundation. However, there's a requirement. The pill's effects must be guaranteed to last for 2 hours. Xiao Chun asked as he looked at Ouyang Roshua. Ouyang Roshua pondered for a moment before nodding. I know a pill called the Bloodline Pill. It can increase a cultivator's battle prowess for a short period of time. Its effects can also be guaranteed to last for 2 hours without damaging one's foundation. Ouyang Roshua had a method. Xiao Chun looked at Lan Xiao when he heard that. As one of the Sky Prides of the Divine Talisman sect, Lan Xiao was naturally a talisman master. Furthermore, he was a heavenly talisman master. Brother Lan, Fairy Shui has already taken care of the pill. I'll have to trouble you with the talismans, Xiao Chun said with a smile as he looked at Lan Xiao. Xiao Chun's method was simple. With Ouyang Roshua's bloodline pill and Lan Xiao's talismans, The Sky Pride's battle prowess would definitely increase significantly in a short period of time. There was no need to talk about the effects of the pill. After swallowing it, one's battle prowess would instantly increase. Although there would be side effects, as long as it didn't damage one's foundation, everyone could still bear the cost. As for the talismans, it was even simpler. The Sky Prides could directly use them to attack. With enough talismans in hand, the Sky Pride's battle prowess could be greatly increased. After hearing Xiao Chen's plan, everyone expressed their approval. This was the only feasible method at the moment. After this, the Sky Prides should be able to last for over an hour. An hour should be enough for Xiao Chen's group to kill the 3 Ghost Kings. Moreover, Ouyang Roshua's bloodline pill could last for around 2 hours. In other words, after Xiao Chen's group killed the 3 Ghost Kings, the Sky Prides would still be able to fight for another hour. This way, it would be more than enough time to annihilate the 3 Ghost King tribes, Yin Ghosts and Heavenly Ghosts. Everyone agreed with Xiao Chen's method. In the end, Xiao Chen smiled faintly. A glint of battle intent flashed through his eyes. He looked at the Sky Prides and said, "This is the final battle. If we win, we'll be able to decide the outcome of this battle. This trip to the 5 Elemental Dao Palace will truly be complete. We'll also have enough Dao seeds to break through to the great circle of the Heaven Realm." Chapter 273. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard Xiao Chen's words. At the same time, Xiao Chen began to assign tasks to the 3 Ghost Kings. Mu He, Lin Nuo, Huanggu, and Gu Mu would deal with the 100 Trees Ghost King. Lan Xiao, Feng Lingya, Ouyang Roshue, and Huangfu Ao would deal with the Rock Ghost King. As for the Chongshan Ghost King, Xiao Chun and Guduya would deal with him. The reason for this assignment was to kill the 3 Ghost Kings in the shortest amount of time. Xiao Chun and Guduya were the strongest among the 10 Ghost Kings. They should be able to defeat the Chongshan Ghost King if they work together. As for the other 8, they had to kill the other 2 Ghost Kings in the shortest amount of time. Nobody objected to Xiao Chen's arrangement. Xiao Chun then told them to get ready. Ouyang Roshue and Lan Xiao had the most important tasks. One of them had to make Dan beads, while the other had to make talismans. Without realizing it, Xiao Chun had gradually become the leader of the 10 Ghost Kings. Nobody objected to Xiao Chen's orders. Perhaps even the 10 Ghost Kings themselves didn't realize it. They began to prepare for the final battle. In the next few days, Ouyang Roshue and Lan Xiao were the busiest. Ouyang Roshue had it easier because she had Xiao Chun to help her. After all, Xiao Chun was the disciple of the Pill Cloud Dominator. He had also learned Dan beads. Although he wasn't as good as Ouyang Roshue, he could still help her. As for Lan Xiao, he was the only talisman master among the 10 Ghost Kings. He had no choice but to ask several Divine Talisman sect disciples to help him. It relieved some of the pressure on him. They worked day and night without rest. After 3 days of preparation, Ouyang Roshue and Lan Xiao finally met Xiao Chen's requirements. Each prodigy was given a bloodline pill and 10 talismans. 8 of them were offensive talismans and 2 were defensive talismans. With the pills and talismans, the preparations were finally done. After resting for a day, everyone adjusted themselves to their peak condition. Then, under the lead of Xiao Chun and the other 10 great geniuses, they headed to the Great Mountain Tribe. They had always sent people to monitor the Heavy Mountain Tribe and knew that the 3 Ghost King tribes had gathered there. Along the way, everyone was ready for the final battle. They knew that this would be the most difficult battle they had faced since entering the Dao Palace. Soon, they arrived at a place not far from the Great Mountain Tribe. Xiao Chen looked at the supreme talents behind him and said, "Everyone, I won't say anything unnecessary. I hope you can use all your strength in this final battle and destroy the 3 Ghost King tribes in one go." Upon hearing Xiao Chen's words, everyone shouted in unison, "Kill!" Their battle intent was awe-inspiring. Everyone was filled with fighting spirit. For this battle, Xiao Chun and the other 10 great geniuses had made a lot of preparations. They had already prepared elixirs and talismans for everyone. Seeing that the supreme talents were so eager to fight, Xiao Chun smiled and looked at Huangfu Ao and the other 7 great geniuses. The 8 of them were in charge of dealing with the Rockfall Ghost King and the 100 Trees Ghost King. Their task was also very important. The key to this battle is to kill the Ghost King as soon as possible. Everyone, don't hold back. Xiao Chun smiled and said to Huangfu Ao and the other 7 great geniuses. Upon hearing Xiao Chun's words, Lan Xiao smiled and said, "Don't worry. Why don't we compete and see who kills the Ghost King first?" Okay, let's make it clear first. Whoever kills the Ghost King last will have to treat us to a drink when we return to the heavenly Qin continent. Ha! Huangfu Ao laughed heartily. As they laughed, the 10 great geniuses' battle intent soared to the sky. Then, Xiao Chun shouted in a low voice, "Everyone, we must win this battle. Kill!" With a light shout, the people who were already filled with fighting spirit immediately charged toward the Great Mountain Tribe. Seeing the humans charging toward them, the Great Mountain Tribe, who had been on high alert, reacted immediately. The war drums thundered, and the spirit-reading ghosts who were in charge of guarding the tribe shouted loudly. The heavy sound of war drums reverberated around the Chongshan tribe. At the same time, an army of tens of thousands of spirit-reading ghosts poured out of the Chongshan tribe like a flood. From a distance, it looked like a black mass. Moreover, there were hundreds of heavenly ghosts commanding the spirit-reading army. In the face of such a large army of Nian ghosts, the geniuses did not hesitate at all. They immediately swallowed the bloodline elixir in their hands, and their auras soared. Ouyang Roshua's alchemy skills were indeed extraordinary. She had already surpassed many of the older alchemists. It was no wonder. Ouyang Roshua had lived in the Heaven Dan Valley since she was young. She mainly cultivated alchemy. In addition to her talent, her alchemy skills were naturally incomparable to ordinary people. As the elixir entered her stomach, her aura soared. At the same time, a peerless genius shouted coldly, "Release the Thunder Talisman." The Sky Thunder Talisman was a talisman made by Lan Xiao. Hundreds of Sky Thunder Talismans were shot out along with this peerless talent's roar. In an instant, hundreds of lightning bolts struck down from the top of the Ningguei army. The Ningguei army was in a complete mess. Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios, the sudden attack of the talisman threw the Ningguei army into disarray. With the help of the Sky Thunder Talisman, the human army of over 100 supreme talents plunged into the Ningguei army like a sharp knife. Everyone, attack! The supreme Sky Prides who were leading the group shouted. Without the 10 kings of pride around, they were the most powerful people in the group. Under the leadership of the supreme Sky Prides, the majority of the elite Sky Prides also shouted angrily. One after another, they drew out their weapons and fought against Nian Gui. Before the battle, Xiao Chun had already made clear preparations and division of labor. The 10 kings of pride would deal with the 3 ghost kings. The peerless geniuses would deal with the heavenly ghosts, and the top geniuses would target the Nian ghosts who were below the earth mirror. Every level of genius had their own mission. When the battle broke out, everyone followed Xiao Chen's orders. The peerless geniuses blocked the heavenly ghosts in front of them. Each peerless genius had to face at least 10 heavenly ghosts. Evil creature, where do you think you're going? Come back to me. Mu Feng was fighting against 13 heavenly ghosts alone. At this moment, one of the heavenly ghosts sensed Mu Feng's powerful combat strength and didn't want to fight to the death. Instead, it dashed towards a top genius not far away. However, Mu Feng wouldn't agree to it. With a punch, he pulled the Yin ghost back into the battle. Like Mu Feng, the rest of the peerless geniuses did the same. Many of the heavenly ghosts wanted to kill the top geniuses, but they were all blocked by the peerless geniuses. Chapter 274. A fierce battle broke out. Although the Sky Prides were facing a large army of Nian ghouls, they were still able to unleash shocking combat strength. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that if these geniuses weren't born in this era, they would all be incomparably dazzling existences. However, they were born at the wrong time. They were born in the same era as the 10 great geniuses, so the brilliance that should have belonged to them was completely overshadowed by the 10 great geniuses. However, this did not mean that the Sky Prides were weak. After going through the trial of the 5 Elemental Tao Palace, the team formed by the Sky Prides gradually revealed their ferocious side. After the fierce battle broke out, 3 terrifying auras erupted from the depths of the Heavy Mountain tribe. Then, the 3 Ghost Kings appeared. Seeing this, the 10 great geniuses who had yet to make a move took the initiative to meet them. Their opponents had finally appeared. "Ha, everyone, I'll go first." Seeing the 3 Ghost Kings appear, Huangfu Ao laughed heartily. Then, he took a step forward and charged toward the Rockfall Ghost King. According to the plan, the 10 great geniuses locked onto their respective targets. The 100 Trees Ghost King and the Rockfall Ghost King were facing the attacks of 4 Sky Prides at the same time. The 2 Ghost Kings' faces darkened. They had heard of the 4 great geniuses' combat strength. The 4 great geniuses were already capable of killing them when they joined forces. They did not expect 4 great geniuses to besiege them. The 100 Trees Ghost King was puzzled. Since the 10 great geniuses had sent 4 great geniuses to besiege him and the Rockfall Ghost King, what about the Mountain Ghost King? With this thought in mind, the 100 Trees Ghost King turned to look at the battlefield where the Mountain Ghost King was. As expected, there were only 2 great geniuses in front of the Mountain Ghost King. In other words, the 10 great geniuses had placed their focus on him and the Rockfall Ghost King. As for the Mountain Ghost King, perhaps they were only trying to pin him down. Mountain Ghost King quickly killed those 2 humans. In 100 Trees Ghost King's mind, he thought that the top 10 Proud King's goal was to kill him and Rock Ghost King first, and then kill Chongshan Ghost King. Just like this time, as long as Chongshan Ghost King killed Xiao Chun and Guduya first, then the plan of the top 10 Proud Kings would be easily foiled. Hearing his words, Mu He and the other 3 who had joined forces to attack sneered. "Do you think our goal is just to stall Chongshan Ghost King? Naive. Let me tell you, the 2 men who besieged Chongshan Ghost King are the most powerful ones among the 10 of us. When they join forces, they have the power to kill the Ghost King. They only sent Xiao Chun and Guduya to deal with Chongshan Ghost King, not to stall him at all, because Xiao Chun and Guduya both had the ability to kill Ghost Kings." Upon hearing Mu He's words, 100 Trees Ghost King's expression changed slightly. However, he did not have much time to think about it, as Mu He's group of 4 had already arrived. The battle between the 3 Ghost Kings and the 10 great geniuses had already erupted. There was no need to worry about the 100 Trees Ghost King and the Rockfall Ghost King. With the combined power of the 8 great geniuses, they could definitely kill the 2 Ghost Kings. The only problem was how long it would take to kill them. Otherwise, the geniuses below might not be able to hold on. Because of the urgency of time, everyone used all their strength to kill the 2 Ghost Kings in the shortest time possible. Just like Mu He's group, Xiao Chun and Guduya were also engaged in a fierce battle with Chongshan Ghost King. In the beginning, Chongshan Ghost King thought he had a great advantage since only 2 great geniuses had come to kill him. However, this thought instantly disappeared after the battle. Xiao Chun and Guduya's strength had greatly exceeded his expectations. He attacked with all his might, unleashing the second layer of the 3-layered waves, 1,000-layered waves. At the same time, Guduya also unleashed his signature move, the High Earth level martial skill, Red Lotus Sword Technique. A fiery red blade slashed towards Chongshan Ghost King rapidly. Xiao Chun and Guduya were publicly recognized as the strongest among the 10 great geniuses. Their combined strength was no weaker than the other 4 great geniuses. As a result, Chongshan Ghost King quickly understood that Xiao Chun and Guduya were not trying to stall him. Instead, they were trying to kill him. The 2 ranked first and second great geniuses were working together to kill him. Faced with Xiao Qin's three-layered waves and Gudu Wuya's red lotus sword technique, Chongshan Ghost King roared furiously. Black chi surged around him as he punched out with both fists at the same time, colliding heavily with their attacks. Chongshan Ghost King successfully blocked Xiao, Chun, and Gudu Wuya's attacks. However, this was only the beginning. After the first attack, Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya leaped forward and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with Chongshan Ghost King. Both of them had already reached an extremely profound level in their understanding of swordsmanship. Every sword strike was not only fast and powerful, but the angle of the strike was also extremely tricky. Chongshan Ghost King became more and more alarmed as he fought. He realized that Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya's attacks were like a huge net that was constantly sealing him. It was almost flawless. Once he made the slightest mistake, he would be severely injured by a single strike. According to the plan before the battle, Xiao Chun and the others had to kill the three great geniuses within an hour. Otherwise, the geniuses below would not be able to hold on. Time was running out. Therefore, Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya's attacks were aimed at Chongshan Ghost King's vital points. The attacks were like waves that came one after another. Moreover, the power of the attacks was getting stronger and stronger, and the speed was also getting faster and faster. The sky was filled with sword light. At the same time, the perfection sword chi enveloped Chongshan Ghost King. The sharp sword chi constantly cut open wounds on Chongshan Ghost King's body. Although these wounds were only flesh wounds, they could not be ignored if this went on. He did not expect Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya to be so powerful. He had already tried his best, but he still could not gain any advantage over them. Just as Chongshan Ghost King was struggling to hold on, Xiao Chun keenly noticed that Chongshan Ghost King's movement paused for a moment. He seized the opportunity and stabbed his long sword into Chongshan Ghost King's armpit. Then, he flicked his sword and sent one of Chongshan Ghost King's arms flying. After countless moves, Xiao Chun finally managed to severely injure Chongshan Ghost King. It had been almost an hour since the battle began. After sending Chongshan Ghost King's arm flying, Xiao Chun shouted coldly, "Brother Gudu, do it." Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya had fought together many times. Their tacit understanding was getting better and better. Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Gudu Wuya immediately understood what Xiao Chun meant. He gently tossed his long sword upward and formed a seal with both hands. A terrifying aura suddenly spread out from Gudu Wuya's body. Chapter 275. Understanding Xiao Chun's intention. Gudu Wuya formed a seal, and the long sword floating in the sky quickly turned into a blood-red lotus. The lotus looked demonic and gave people palpitations. Seeing the lotus taking shape, Chongshan Ghost King ignored the pain in his body, and his eyes twitched unconsciously. He was about to run away, but it was too late. Gudu Wuya shouted softly, "Red Lotus Sword Technique, 100 Reincarnation Lotus Kill." Along with Gudu Wuya's voice, the blood-red lotus shot toward Chongshan Ghost King. Chongshan Ghost King was like a rabbit whose tail was stepped on. He immediately jumped up and ran away. However, he was not as fast as the lotus. In the blink of an eye, the lotus caught up with him. Then, a dazzling red light burst out and swallowed Chongshan Ghost King's body. 100 Reincarnation Lotus Kill was the strongest move of the Red Lotus Sword technique and also Gudu Wuya's ultimate killing move. As Gudu Wuya's lotus hit Chongshan Ghost King, Xiao Chun did not stay idle. He pointed his finger and performed the Tai sword finger. A sword radiance as thick as a mountain shot toward the red light and hit Chongshan Ghost King hard. First, he sent Chongshan Ghost King's arm flying. Then, Gudu Wuya's killing move, 100 Reincarnation Lotus Kill. Now, Xiao Chun's Tai sword finger was a series of killing moves. No matter how strong Chongshan Ghost King was, he had no chance of survival. After successfully killing Chongshan Ghost King, the 10 geniuses attacked at the same time. However, in the end, it was Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya who killed the Ghost King first. "Everyone, Brother Gudu, and I will go first. Remember who's going to buy us drinks. Don't go back on your words." Xiao Chun smiled at Huangfu Ao and the others who were still fighting fiercely. Then, he and Gudu Wuya rushed into the battle below to support the other geniuses. With one Ghost King dead, the other two geniuses joined the battle. Soon, the momentum of the Ghost Reading Army weakened. Facing Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya, even the heavenly ghosts were no match for them, let alone the Earth Mirror Reading Ghosts. Their goal was clear. Xiao Chun and Gudu Wuya were going to slaughter those heavenly ghosts. There were hundreds of them, and as long as they were all taken care of, the remaining spirit-reading ghosts at Earth Mirror level would not be able to do much, even if there were many of them. Huangfu Ao and the others became even more desperate when they saw that Xiao Chun and Mu he had already killed Chongshan Ghost King. Their attacks became even more ferocious. In the end, Huangfu Ao's group successfully killed Rockfall Ghost King. Muhi's group, who was one step behind them, also successfully killed 100 Trees Ghost King. With all three Ghost Kings dead and the 10 Lords of Pride joining the battle, victory was already set. With the 10 geniuses joining the battle, the rest was much simpler. The hundreds of heavenly ghosts were quickly slaughtered. Only the Earth Mirror Reading ghosts were left. Naturally, they could not hold on for long before they were all killed. The alliance formed by the 3 Ghost Kings was destroyed by the humans in less than 2 hours. With the end of the battle, the geniuses were powerlessly lying on the ground due to the backlash of the pills. Their faces were pained, but they all had excited smiles on their faces. They had finally won. One could imagine how much they had gained from this battle. Moreover, with the end of the battle, Xiao Chen's group had created an unprecedented record. They had completely killed all the Ghost Kings and half-step Ghost Kings in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. Keep in mind that the 5 Elemental Dao Palace had opened countless times, but there had never been a time when the humans were able to kill all the Ghost Kings and half-step Ghost Kings. Basically, the Ghost King tribes were absolutely safe when the 5 Elemental Dao Palace opened, because no humans dared to attack them. It was the same for half-step Ghost King tribes. Humans only dared to attack the smaller Ghost Reading tribes. However, this time, under the leadership of Xiao Chun and the other 10 geniuses, the humans had swept through the entire 5 Elemental Dao Palace. They had killed all the Ghost Kings and half-step Ghost Kings in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. This was definitely a feat that no human had ever achieved before. After this battle, Xiao Chen's group had expended a lot of energy. However, they were all in a good mood. As mentioned before the battle, this was their last battle in the 5 Elemental Dao Palace. If they won, it would be a perfect ending to this trip. Mu He, Lin Nuo, Huanggu, and Gumu, the 4 of you have lost. Don't forget to treat us to a drink when we return to the heavenly Qin continent. Feng Lingye's face was pale, but he still had a smile on his face. He looked at Mu He and the other 3 and smiled. Mu He and the other 3 besieged the 100 Trees Ghost King, but they were the last to kill it. Therefore, according to the agreement, the 4 of them had to treat everyone to a drink. Hearing Feng Lingye's words, Mu He said unhappily, "Mother of Asterisker, we are so unlucky." Who knew that the 100 Trees Ghost King had mastered a recovery ability that could heal its injuries instantly. If it wasn't for that, we might have been the first to kill a Ghost King. Mu He felt sullen. In terms of strength, the 100 Trees Ghost King might not be the strongest among the 3 Ghost Kings. However, in terms of recovery and vitality, the 100 Trees Ghost King was definitely stronger than the Rockfall Ghost King and the Chongshan Ghost King. Due to the 100 Trees Ghost King's terrifying recovery and vitality, Mu He and the other 3 had to expend a lot of energy to kill it. Mu He, you have to keep your word. What's wrong? Are you going back on your word? Huangfu Ao said with a smile. Who's going back on my word? Isn't it just a drink? It's on me. Haha. All right, but I don't drink ordinary wine. How about this? I heard that your Mu clan's patriarch, the Heavenly Wood ruler, likes to brew wine. It said that he has a jar of good wine that has been stored for more than 100 years. How about this, Mu He? You won't refuse, right? Huangfu Ao continued. The jar of wine mentioned by Huangfu Ao was definitely a treasure. Even the heavenly wood ruler couldn't bear to drink it. Mui's expression changed when he heard this. If it was something else, his patriarch might have agreed. However, that jar of wine was his patriarch's treasure. Even the other sovereigns coveted the jar of wine in the heavenly wood ruler's hands. Now, Huangfu Ao wanted Mui to treat everyone to it. Mui's expression turned ugly. However, under Huangfu Ao's provocation, he finally braced himself and agreed. He thought to himself, at worst, I'll just steal some. After all, I won't take much. I'll just take out a little bit for everyone to taste. Haha, Mui, you're the one who said it. If you can't keep your word, it'll be embarrassing. When Huangfu Ao saw that Mui had agreed, a smug expression appeared on his face. Everyone else also smiled. They were all looking forward to the heavenly wood ruler's jar of wine. Chapter 276. After destroying the 3 Ghost King tribes, the 5 Elements Dao Palace no longer had any Ghost Nyingue tribes that could threaten the humans. Furthermore, they had gained a lot from the battle. With a sufficient number of seeds of Taoism, there were still 5 days left before the 3-month deadline. In these last few days, Xiao Chun and the others also prepared to raise their cultivation level to the celestial realm, which was also the limit that could be achieved in the 5 Dao Palace. If they wanted to go further, they would have to break through to the Dao querying realm. However, in order to break through to the Dao querying realm, the seeds of Taoism were obviously useless. Because the Dao intent seeds were useless for breaking through to the Dao querying realm, Xiao Chun and the others only kept enough for themselves. The rest were distributed to the geniuses below them. After all, the peak of the celestial realm was the limit for the Dao intent seeds. So, even if they had extra Dao intent seeds, it would be useless. Besides, the Dao intent seeds couldn't be brought out of the 5 Elements Dao Palace. Thus, it was better to distribute them to the geniuses. After distributing the spoils, Xiao Chun and the other geniuses entered secluded cultivation to break through to the peak of the celestial realm. It was already late at night in the heavenly Chun continent. The moon was high in the sky. As one of the 7 overlords of the heavenly Chun continent, the 9 Clouds Palace had undergone a drastic change. Or rather, the Celestial Sword Peak had undergone a drastic change. It was a peaceful night. Everything was normal. Suddenly, a talisman array that blotted out the sky rose up around the Celestial Sword Peak without any warning. It instantly enveloped the Celestial Sword Peak. The appearance of such a huge talisman array naturally alarmed the people from the other peaks. They all looked at the huge talisman array that had appeared out of nowhere. The peak lords of the other 8 peaks were shocked. How did that talisman array appear? And why did it surround the Celestial Sword Peak? Suddenly, the ruler of the 9 clouds appeared in the sky. He snorted coldly and said, "Who are you, little rascal? How dare you intrude into my 9 clouds palace?" The ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds raised his finger and released 9 clouds of godly thunder. Purple lightning descended from the sky and crashed onto the talisman deployment spell. When the ruler of the 9 clouds attacked, the talisman array surrounding the Celestial Sword Peak was unharmed. It didn't even have the slightest ripple. The ruler of the 9 clouds frowned. It wasn't difficult for the ruler of the 9 clouds to see how powerful the talisman array was. It was a defensive talisman array that could block a ruler's attack. There weren't many talisman arrays like that in the heavenly Chun continent. Only the 7 overlords of the 9 clouds palace. The ruler of the 9 clouds palace. The ruler of the 9 clouds palace. The emperor of the 9 clouds demon cultivators. Emperor of the ruler of the 9 clouds palace. Emperor's emperor as Dao emperors. The 4 demon envoys could be said to be the people the rulers paid attention to the most. But now, they had appeared on the Celestial Sword Peak without anyone noticing. They had even used a talisman to isolate the Celestial Sword Peak. The ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds said to the demon envoy indifferently. Third demon envoy, what is the meaning of this? You want to throw yourself into a trap? You should know that even though the talisman array can stop me for a while, it won't last long. The rulers of the continent of the Nine Clouds didn't know the names of the 4 envoys of the demon cultivators, so they just used numbers. The one in front of the ruler of the continent of the Nine Clouds was the 3rd demon envoy. The ruler of the Nine Clouds Palace had already guessed that the 3rd demon envoy was here for some reason. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the risk to come to Nine Clouds Palace. He looked at the 3rd demon envoy coldly. As soon as the ruler of the Nine Clouds said that, another person in black clothes appeared next to the 3rd demon envoy. It was the 4th demon envoy. Nine Clouds, we don't need to stay here for long. Once we get what we want, we'll leave, said the 4th demon envoy hoarsely. As expected, the demon cultivators had indeed come here for a reason. There was obviously something they wanted on the Celestial Sword Peak. But what was it about the Celestial Sword Peak that made 2 demon envoys come here at the same time? There were only 4 demon envoys amongst the demonic cultivators in Heavenly Chun Continent. At present, however, 2 of them had appeared in Nine Firmaments Palace. This proved that the item within Heavenly Sword Peak was very important to them. Thus, the demonic cultivators had not hesitated to send out 2 demon envoys. They had been able to sneak in a Nine Clouds Palace without anyone noticing and set up such a large-scale talisman array. It was obvious that the demon cultivators had been preparing for this for a long time. The ruler of the Nine Clouds realized how serious the situation was, but he had underestimated how important the things on the Celestial Sword Peak were to the demon cultivators. After the 3rd and 4th demon envoys appeared, the 1st and 2nd demon envoys appeared as well. When the 1st and 2nd demon envoys appeared, the ruler of the Nine Clouds was astonished. The 4 demon envoys had all gathered together. Without hesitation, the ruler of the Nine Clouds immediately sent a message to the other rulers, telling them to hurry up and help Nine Clouds Palace. The 4 demon envoys had all gathered in Nine Clouds Palace. This was no small matter. The ruler of the Nine Clouds looked at the 4 demon envoys seriously. He didn't say anything, but directly started attacking the talisman array. Although the talisman array was strong, it couldn't stop the ruler of the Nine Clouds for too long. Besides, the other rulers should be on their way as well. They would arrive in an hour at the earliest. When the ruler of the Nine Clouds started attacking the talisman array, the 4 demon envoys remained calm. I'll go get the key. 4th brother, you take charge of the array. Give me an hour. When the other 3 demon envoys heard that, they nodded. The 4th demon envoys sat down cross-legged and focused on the talisman array. With a Tao Emperor realm expert personally holding down the fort, the might of this talisman formation had naturally improved greatly. If the ruler of the Nine Clouds had been able to destroy the talisman array in 15 minutes before now, he wouldn't be able to destroy it in 2 hours. The 1st demon envoys flew down. The ruler of the Nine Clouds frowned and looked in the direction the 1st demon envoys had left. He couldn't help but shout, "Dustless residence." Indeed, the 1st demon envoys had landed in the dustless residence. In other words, the thing the demon cultivators wanted was in the dustless residence. But the dustless residence was Shao Chen's residence. What did the demon cultivators want? Besides, Shao Chun wasn't in the dustless residence. Why had the 4 demon envoys come at such a time? What was their goal? Chapter 277. The 1st demon envoy landed in the direction of the dustless residence. At the same time, the disciples and elders of the Heavenly Sword Peak were also rushing towards the dustless residence under the lead of the trio. When the 1st demon envoy landed, over 1,000 disciples and elders of the Heavenly Sword Peak surrounded him. Led by Tsang Xian, Tsang Yun, and Tsang Long, everyone from the Heavenly Sword Peak looked nervous, but they did not show any intention of retreating. A bunch of ants want to stop me. Facing the obstruction of everyone, the 1st demon envoy revealed a terrifying sneer beneath his black robes. Then, Am I qualified to stop you? Just as the first demon envoy's voice fell, a lazy voice echoed out. Then, the pill cloud ruler swayed as he walked over from a distance. His steps weren't fast and were rather light. But even so, in just several steps, the pill cloud ruler appeared in front of the first demon envoy. The pill cloud ruler was still living in seclusion in the Celestial Sword Peak, which meant that the Celestial Sword Peak had a ruler there. When the crowd saw the pill cloud ruler, they took a deep breath. It wasn't the worst situation yet. With a ruler there, they could at least buy some time. As long as the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds destroyed the talisman deployment spell, they would be saved. After all, the Tianshan continent had more Tao emperors than the demon cultivators. Everyone rejoiced in their hearts, but the first demon envoy wasn't surprised at all. He'd long since known that an almighty Tao Emperor realm expert was hiding on Heavenly Sword Peak. Moreover, it was an expert who'd attained perfection in the Tao Emperor realm. So, the first demon envoy was prepared. If it were any other time, I would love to have a big fight with you. Unfortunately, my target tonight is not you. As the first demon envoy's voice fell, the second and third demon envoys in the sky moved at the same time, entangling the Pill Cloud Sovereign. The 4 demon envoys had come to Sky Sword Peak because of Dominator Pill Cloud. If Dominator Pill Cloud wasn't living in seclusion in Sky Sword Peak, they wouldn't need to send 4 demon envoys. At this time, the second and third demon envoys were entangled with Tao Sovereign Pill Cloud. For a time, it would be difficult for him to extricate himself. If it was a one-on-one battle, then Tao Sovereign Pill Cloud had a chance of winning. But facing 2 demon envoys at the same time was clearly a bit difficult for him, much less the first demon envoy. That was simply impossible. 2 demon envoys were keeping the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds busy, and 1 demon envoy was controlling the talisman deployment spell to fight against the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds. The demon cultivators had done a lot of preparation for tonight's mission. When the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds saw that the 2 demon envoys were fighting against ruler Pill Cloud, the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds looked grim. Before, the ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds was happy because of ruler Pill Cloud, but now he was also fighting against the 2 demon envoys. Things were getting worse. Everyone, attack the glyph array with all your strength. There was no time to waste. They had to break the glyph array as quickly as possible. Otherwise, ruler Pill Cloud would not be able to hold on for long. There were 4 demon envoys inside the glyph array, after all. Not even ruler Pill Cloud could fight against 4 demon envoys alone. He ordered the cultivators from 9 Firmament's palace to attack the glyph array with all their strength. Instantly, the cultivators from 9 Firmament's palace soared into the sky. With the 8 peak lords in the lead, over 1,000 cultivators attacked the glyph array furiously. The ruler of the continent of the 9 Firmament's palace also took action, wanting to break the glyph array as quickly as possible. With so many cultivators attacking the glyph array at the same time, the 4th demon envoy, who was in charge of controlling the glyph array, was under great pressure. He sent a secret vocal transmission to the 1st demon envoy. "Hurry! I can't hold on for long. Take the items and leave." Everyone from 9 Firmament's palace gathered their strength to break the glyph array. Clearly, the glyph array would not be able to hold on for long. Hearing the 4th demon envoy's words, the 1st demon envoy sneered. He swept his gaze over the cultivators from Heavenly Sword Peak and said icily, "Looks like I don't need to waste my breath. It's impossible for you all to take the initiative to move aside. If that's the case, you all can die." The 1st demon envoy couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with the cultivators from Heavenly Sword Peak. The moment he said that, a terrifying pressure erupted from his body. Under the pressure of this pressure, some of the disciples from Heavenly Sword Peak with low cultivation levels coughed out blood and died on the spot. Just a strand of the pressure he emitted was enough to take the lives of many of the disciples. Seeing this, Song Xian's face sank. However, before he could say anything, the 1st demon envoy made a grasping motion across space. A massive force, like a giant hand, instantly grabbed Song Xian, Song Long, and Song Yun. A bunch of ants want to block me? What a joke. The first demon envoy sneered. Then he clenched his fist, and Song Xian's group of 3 were crushed into a mist of blood. Just like that, the 3 peak lords of Heavenly Sword Peak died. Looking at the corpses of Song Xian's group, everyone was stunned. However, this was just the beginning. After killing Song Xian's group of 3, the first demon envoy didn't stop. He coldly shouted, "From the moment I appeared, the Heavenly Sword Peak was destined to flow with rivers of blood. Ants die." It was clear that the first demon envoy didn't plan on letting anyone from Heavenly Sword Peak go. The first demon envoy began a frenzied slaughter. He didn't seem to move at all, but masses of blood-red fog condensed around him. This fog soon turned into blood-red heads that opened their jaws and bit down on the crowd. These blood-red heads were extremely fast and simply impossible to destroy. Or it could be said that the crowd's strength wasn't enough to destroy these blood-red heads. Miserable screams echoed throughout Heavenly Sword Peak. Seeing his fellow apprentice brothers fall down one by one, Qin Hung protected Qi Yin and retreated. No one thought that a calamity would descend upon the Heavenly Sword Peak without any warning. Song Xian's group of 3 had already died. Qin Hung knew that no one from Heavenly Sword Peak could stop the first demon envoy. He constantly brandished his sword, but in front of the first demon envoy's formidable strength, Qin Hung's resistance was completely useless. A blood-red head rushed over, its jaws wide open as it bit down on Qin Hung's neck. Qin Hung slashed out with his sword, but it didn't have any effect on the blood-red head. The blood-red head bit down on Qin Hung's throat and began to crazily suck out his blood. In just a dozen breaths of time, Qin Hung had become a withered corpse. Seeing Qin Hung die with her own eyes, Qi Yin cried out in grief. Senior apprentice brother, tears wet her eyes. In less than 100 breaths of time, her master Song Xian had died, and her senior apprentice brother Qin Hung had also died. And all of this had happened right in front of her eyes. At this moment, Qi Yin seemed to have lost her soul. In front of a Tao Emperor Realm Master, they didn't have the slightest ability to resist. In the end, even when the blood-red head bit down on her throat, Qi Yin didn't react at all. Her empty eyes stared blankly at the sky. Against the backdrop of the night sky, Qi Yin seemed to see the back of a white-clothed youth. She couldn't help but smile. In the final moment, Qi Yin smiled sweetly and said, "Junior apprentice brother, it's a good thing you aren't on Heavenly Sword Peak. Begging for your collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations." Chapter 278. In her final moments, the only thing Qi Yin rejoiced about was that Xiao Chan wasn't at the Heavenly Sword Peak. Like this, their bloodline hadn't been completely annihilated because her junior brother was still alive. Tears flowed from her eyes, but a smile hung on her lips. She cried because her master and senior brother had died, but she smiled because Xiao Chan was still alive. Finally, Qi Yin felt her vision become more and more blurry. The white-clothed youth in the sky also gradually became blurry. The aura of death constantly surged in her heart. In the end, Qi Yin perished. Qi Yin's death was a very ordinary scene for the current Heavenly Sword Peak. This was because the entire Heavenly Sword Peak was filled with blood-colored heads flying around. Every second, a disciple or elder of the Heavenly Sword Peak would fall. To the disciples and elders of the Heavenly Sword Peak, this calamity had come so suddenly without any warning. Moreover, the people of the Heavenly Sword Peak had no way to deal with this calamity. They only felt powerless and despair. The first demon envoy slowly walked through the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood. He didn't care about the slaughter of the people of the Heavenly Sword Peak. These people were only a portion of the people he had killed in his life, a drop in the ocean. Stepping on the corpses, the first demon envoy entered the dustless residence. In the front courtyard, he saw Qin Shiru with a sorrowful and despairing expression as well as Qin Yao and Qin Luo. Facing the calamity of the heavenly sword peak, Qin Shiru was filled with grief, but there was nothing he could do. Even when his own brother died, Qin Shiru couldn't do anything to save him. Qin Shiru clenched his fists as he faced the first demon envoy. His nails dug into his flesh as he gritted his teeth. Qin Shiru coldly said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me." In the face of death, Qin Shiru calmed down instead. He was powerless to resist. If he wanted to hate someone, he could only hate himself for being too weak. In front of a Tao emperor, he was an ant-like existence. How could an ant escape the fate of being trampled to death? In the face of death, Qin Shiru only felt a strong reluctance. He couldn't bear to part with Xiao Chun. Hearing Qin Shiru's words, the first demon envoy faintly smiled. "You can't die yet." As the first demon envoy spoke, he gently stretched out his right hand. An illusory arm formed from spiritual strength stretched into Qin Shiru's body. It was as if he was searching for something. Facing the first demon envoy's actions, Qin Yao and Qin Luo, who were behind Qin Shiru, seemed to be suppressed by some kind of power. They couldn't move at all and could only watch as everything happened. Qin Shiru could clearly feel that the first demon envoy's spiritual arm was stripping away something from his body. As time passed, Qin Shiru instinctively felt as if something was being taken out of his body. At the same time, as this thing disappeared, he felt as if his body was breaking through its shackles. In fact, even Qin Shiru didn't know that she had been a mother body since she was a child, a mother body used to nourish the devil cultivator's ki, and this ki was called the blood demon mark. In the battle 3,000 years ago, the devil cultivators were defeated by the heavenly Chun continent. However, a portion of the devil cultivators luckily survived and hid in the heavenly Qin continent. After thousands of years of planning and hiding, these devil cultivators finally found a way to construct a new spatial channel. That was the blood demon mark. The blood demon mark was the most precious treasure of the devil cultivator's world. It could open up space and time and accurately connect to the continent where the devil cultivators resided. From there, it could connect the continent where the devil cultivators resided to the heavenly Chun continent. 3,000 years ago, the devil cultivators' army also found this method through the spatial channel opened up by the blood demon mark. After the battle, the blood demon mark was also lost in the heavenly Qin continent. After a few generations of devil cultivators searched for it, they found the blood devil brand in the end. Unfortunately, the blood devil brand had been severely damaged from the battle, and it wasn't sufficient to construct a spatial passageway. Moreover, repairing it was extremely troublesome, and even Tao Emperor realm experts were unable to accomplish it. Even Tao emperors couldn't do it. But after deep research, the first demon envoy finally found a way to repair the blood demon mark. If he wanted to repair the blood demon mark, he had to find someone with an extreme yin physique. He had to place the blood demon mark in their body and use its special physique's cold yin energy to nourish it. Only then would the blood demon mark gradually recover over the years. The extreme yin physique mentioned here wasn't a low-grade physique like the yin spirit physique. Instead, it had to be a peak physique. However, although the heavenly Qin continent had an innumerable population, there wasn't a single person with a peak yin physique. In order to find such a person, the first demon envoy could be said to have used over 100 years to travel to every corner of the heavenly Qin continent. He first started from the central divine realm, but after a round, not a single person met the requirements. Those with extreme yin physiques had too low a grade and weren't enough to nourish the blood demon mark. There wasn't a single person in the central divine realm. Then, the first demon envoy went to the other 4 great regions. Finally, he arrived at the Eastern Sun region. Just as the first demon envoy was about to give up, he encountered a newborn baby. And this baby was Qin Shiru. He was born with an innate cold energy, and it was extremely cold. Even as a Tao Emperor Realm Supreme Elder, the first demon envoy still felt a chill when he saw Qin Shiru for the first time. With such an extreme cold, it was clear that Qin Shi's extreme physique wasn't simple at all. After flipping through a great number of ancient texts, the first demon envoy finally found an introduction to Qin Shi's physique. The ice god physique was a physique that only existed in legends. No one knew whether it actually existed or not. It was only said that in ancient times, an ice god physique had appeared in the world, and this record was based on that ancient ice god physique. Most of the records regarding the ice god physique were guesses, but they matched Qin Shi extremely well. The first demon envoy guessed that Qin Shi might have the ice god physique. And if this was true, then Qin Shi would completely meet the requirements to nourish the blood demon mark. Moreover, he would exceed them by far too much. With the ice god physique nourishing him, it would greatly shorten the recovery time of the blood demon mark. For a time, the first demon envoy was incomparably excited. Without hesitation, he planted the blood demon mark into Qin Shi's body. And no one in the Qin family knew of this. But thinking about it, how could the ants of the Qin family possibly detect the actions of a Tao emperor? Like this, Qin Shi became the main body of the blood demon mark. From a young age, the blood demon mark was nourished. And in order to prevent others from discovering Qin Shi's ice god physique, the first demon envoy also used some tricks to turn Qin Shi's ice god physique into a Yin spirit physique. Of course, this was only a smokescreen. This was a plan that had been laid out over 20 years ago. But now, because of the strength of the ice god physique, the blood demon mark had been restored to its peak in just over 20 years. The first demon envoy had finally completed the long-cherished wish of several generations of demonic cultivators. As he felt the blood demon mark constantly being stripped from Qin Shi's body, the first demon envoy couldn't help but laugh out loud. Haha, 3,000 years, 3,000 years. I've finally succeeded. I've finally succeeded. Please add me to your collection. Please recommend me. Chapter 279. 3,000 years of preparation had finally been completed in his own hands. The first demon envoy laughed heartily. Following his laughter, a palm-sized mark slowly flew out from Qin Shi's body. As this mark appeared, a brutal, bloodthirsty, and terrifying aura spread out. This was the most precious treasure of the world of demonic cultivators, the blood demon mark. Even the first demon envoy couldn't help but reveal an excited expression as he saw the blood demon mark. He carefully put it away. With the blood demon mark, the demonic cultivators would be able to open up a space channel once more, allowing their army to descend upon the heavenly Qin continent once more. And this time, the demonic cultivators would absolutely not fail. They would make the heavenly Qin continent submit to them. After the blood demon mark was completely stripped away, Qin Shi's hair began to turn as white as snow from the roots. His originally black hair had now turned white. The white hair fluttered in the wind. It could be said that without the suppression of the blood demon mark, Qin Shi's ice goddess physique had completely erupted. After all, Qin Shi had used most of his strength to nourish the blood demon mark. In truth, the ice goddess physique didn't give Qin Shi too many benefits. But now that the blood demon mark had been stripped away, the ice goddess physique was gradually revealing its loftiness. The white hair was the most direct manifestation of the ice goddess physique's gradual awakening. The first demon envoy didn't care about Qin Shi's changes. He put away the blood demon mark and looked at Qin Shi. His expression gradually returned to normal, and his voice became hoarse once more. Little girl, this seat can give you a chance to live. If you acknowledge me as your master, I will take you away. The first demon envoy didn't plan on directly killing Qin Shi. The first demon envoy cherished talent. Qin Shi possessed the legendary ice goddess physique. Such a physique was extremely powerful. If he could grow up, it could be said that he would definitely reach the Tao Emperor realm. He wanted to take Qin Shi as his disciple. Hearing the first demon envoy's words, Qin Shi coldly smiled. His eyes were filled with hatred as he said, "Take me as your disciple? You think you're worthy?" Everyone from Heavenly Sword Peak, including his own brother Qin Shi, had died at the hands of the first demon envoy. The hatred in Qin Shi's heart could be imagined. Hearing Qin Shi's words, a trace of disappointment flashed in the first demon envoy's eyes. This was an ice god physique. This was absolutely a rare seedling that only appeared once in 100 years. Unfortunately, Qin Shi wouldn't take him as his master. The first demon envoy was well aware of this. And since he couldn't subdue Qin Shi, he naturally couldn't allow this ice god physique to continue growing. This danger had to be nipped in the cradle. Thinking of this, the first demon envoy's eyes erupted with a terrifying killing intent. He coldly said, "Since you want to die, then don't blame me." As the first demon envoy spoke, he thrust out a finger. A blood-red finger light rapidly shot towards Qin Shi's forehead. This was only a casual attack from the first demon envoy, but Qin Shi didn't have the ability to resist at all. He couldn't even move. He could only stare helplessly on as that blood-red finger light drew closer and closer to him. He already thought that he would die without a doubt. But just as this finger light was about to pierce through Qin Shi's forehead, in this critical moment, the Pill Cloud Sovereign that was fighting with the second and third demon envoys suddenly appeared in front of Qin Shi. He thrust out a palm, blocking the sure kill strike for Qin Shi. The Pill Cloud Sovereign's appearance caused the first demon envoy's face to sink. At the same time, the second and third demon envoys also flashed, arriving at the first demon envoy's side. Just now, the second and third demon envoys had joined forces to attack the Pill Cloud Sovereign. But when they saw that Qin Shi was in danger, Tao's Sovereign Pill Cloud had forcefully used a secret technique to force the two of them back. Only then did he dare to save Qin Shi. The Pill Cloud Sovereign shielded Qin Shi behind him. At this time, he didn't seem as lazy as he usually was. His eyes were as bright as the stars in the sky. The aura of a perfect Tao Emperor soared into the sky as he looked at the three demon envoys. The truth is that I've always hated fighting and killing. But as he spoke, the Pill Cloud Sovereign stretched out a hand. An inexplicable strength appeared, instantly sealing off the entire space. Feeling the space around them completely sealed off, the first demon envoy's expression changed. He looked at the Pill Cloud Sovereign and said in alarm, "This is the laws, the power of laws." The power of laws was a power that could only be grasped after breaking through the Tao Emperor realm and entering a higher realm. Although he was shocked, the first demon envoy quickly calmed down. The power of laws that the Pill Cloud Sovereign used was only the tip of the iceberg. In other words, the Pill Cloud Sovereign had only touched upon the threshold of the power of laws. He hadn't even crossed the threshold. If he forcefully used the power of laws, he wouldn't be able to display the true power of laws. He wouldn't even be able to display 1/10,000th of its power. Moreover, the Pill Cloud Sovereign wouldn't be able to hold on for long. However, even then, it was already sufficiently terrifying. After all, Tao Exalt Danyan was only at the Tao Emperor realm, yet he'd already touched the threshold of the laws. In other words, Tao Exalt Danyan was very close to breaking through to the Tao Emperor realm, and it was even to the extent that he'd taken a step forward. Retreat. Without hesitation, the first demon envoy chose to retreat. He had already obtained the blood demon mark. There was no need to stay any longer. Moreover, the other sovereigns of the heavenly stellar continent were probably on their way to reinforce him. It would be dangerous to delay any longer. He no longer thought about killing Qin Shi. After all, with the Pill Cloud Sovereign here, it was impossible to do so. Even if it was possible, it would waste a lot of time. It wasn't worth it. Thus, he chose to retreat. Hearing the first demon envoy's words, the three demon envoys attacked at the same time. A terrifying power swept across the horizon. The Pill Cloud Sovereign's power of laws was quickly defeated. After all, the Pill Cloud Sovereign had only touched upon the threshold of the power of laws. It was impossible for him to stop the three demon envoys. After defeating the Pill Cloud Sovereign's power of laws, the first demon envoy and the three demon envoys activated the transmission talismans in their hands. Seeing the four demon envoys preparing to leave, a cold light flashed in the Pill Cloud Sovereign's eyes. He raised his hand and pressed down. A terrifying power of laws descended from the sky, instantly interrupting the second, third, and fourth demon envoys' transmission talismans. Don't you think it's too late to leave now? His voice was cold. The four demon envoys prepared to retreat. They even used their transmission talismans. But even so, the Pill Cloud Sovereign still blocked three of them. Apart from the first demon envoy, who had used his strength at the peak of the Tao Emperor realm to activate the transmission talisman, the other three demon envoys were blocked by the Pill Cloud Sovereign. The second demon envoy and the other two demon envoys looked extremely gloomy when they saw the Pill Cloud Sovereign interrupt their transmission talismans. At the same time, without the fourth demon envoy's control, the talisman formation around the Celestial Sword Peak was destroyed by the Pill Cloud Sovereign. The three demon envoys were surrounded. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.